Oh, you can.
May I have one as well?
Well, actually, on behalf
Which one? Oh, the
You know,
municipal?
and to tell you the truth,
I
I might change it, you can read it,
If you want to take it,
I'm not averse to changing
I
it.
have it marked up on my computer.
Oh, that's okay, Mary's got it, so,
Which one?
yeah.
what municipal service,
I like the
Yeah.
other
What
key
is-
points part.
What is the third one? Oh, there it is.
Bryanson.
There's one.
Okay. I didn't have
Municipal
any-
services.
I didn't have any marks.
Oh, my
on it.
goodness.
I didn't have any marks on it, but what I would note is that each one has the same other key points paragraph after it, and,
And that was kind of purposeful.
okay, it seemed redundant to me, but, okay.
Well, I think as we go through and have all these,
Remember that the goals and objectives part isn't gonna be sitting in this, it's gonna be sitting before the,
No, she said it is gonna sit in.
it is gonna
The
sit.
goals and objectives are gonna sit into it, the actions are not.
okay.
And the idea was that it looks like an awful lot of goals and objectives, potentially big ticket, and Ryan immediately looked at it with Penny and said, we need to make sure that people understand that we're gonna appropriately prioritize and modify this to reflect financial realities. And that's the reason that last paragraph in it, and it's consistent throughout all of them.
Okay.
And I love that it has like a link to the taxes document that he did,
Right.
and then links to, I had not read the old firehouse structural evaluation yet, so really, for,
You don't really have to, because it's coming down.
so, well, I know, now, but so it was helpful that, like, I think it played out the way I envisioned it, in the sense that if you're looking at these goals, you need to be informed about all of this stuff to understand the history of how we got to those
Yeah.
goals.
Right.
Yeah.
And that came out of the forums and the surveys that people made comments that indicated they really were not very well informed.
Oh, yeah, that was blatant, I mean, you wouldn't have heard, you didn't want to hear me. I was just burbling at home.
But I guess the question is, well, are there gonna be more than the three?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, and will there be
Yes.
a one-pager on the financial stuff?
I think there should be.
Yeah, I believe they should be. And I-
Yeah.
And
And
again,
Brian is really good at
Brian-
writing that stuff, and he's already written half.
he's written it. I mean,
You know,
I
it's
think we should
basically what he's written before.
reformat it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, we'll tell him to do that. After he finishes writing around.
Goal
These-
one is to
these
scare
are-
people out of
And
town.
these are chapters?
No, these are just public information documents that we'll figure out how to accommodate.
Well, I understand, but it's a one-page introduction to what, though?
To a topic of the master plan.
Okay. Because see, that's the problem, as you know from my comments, that's the problem I had in what to call each section within the matrix, because I didn't know what to call it. Because it was higher than goals, and it was a breakdown of issues or something, but.
So I think
to
we're
me,
calling
they
them one
needed
pagers
a-
right now, but they could
To
have
me,
a
they
better name.
needed a
Well,
name.
I mean, it's pretty much reflecting our initial discussion
Agreed.
4 years and 5
Yeah,
months ago.
oh, yeah. It was-
Info page.
It was the working groups.
Yeah.
I agree.
How-
And it really
Housing
is, it was top areas that we thought were important. So we took the state's guideline, 81D or whatever it is, and said, okay, what do
Now,
we
would
need
one
to
of the
add?
goals be promoting the passage of CPA?
It's in.
That's it,
That's part of the implementation.
that's part of the implementation, it's in there.
Well, it depends how you look at it, though. If you're putting goals and
No, I'm
objectives,
looking at the one page.
if you're putting the goals and objectives in, it definitely has been a goal to pass an objective to pass the CPA. But I'm inclined to agree. And-
But do
and
you
my-
really want it for buildings, wouldn't you rather have it for what it really applies to, which is,
Oh, it can apply.
We're
Well,
using, we're
I-
sitting.
I-
It'd be
I-
cultural, right?
yeah, it can be.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
We need to have
We're
a discussion
sitting,
about
it's,
that,
well,
because
CPA funds could.
Yeah, so it's not an
Okay.
municipal
So many
building.
places.
the-
CPA isn't a municipal.
Well,
Oh, no, it's
Oh.
exactly what you said. It's, open space,
housing
Affordable
and
housing.
historical.
affordable housing,
And historical.
Yeah, so
It's
town
all-
hall,
so
it's all free.
building, library.
But,
Stowe's libraries,
but,
Yeah, you can apply to.
but do you put it down 3 times or do you put it
Yeah,
down once?
it's just-
That, I had that
I
exact
say you
same
put it
question.
down once, and you do it early on and at a high level, and make sure that everybody understands that it's all of them. It's really important, it seems to me, to know that it's all of them, because people who are, if you will, anti-open space go ballistic over the CPA being related to open space. And
that's.
Or
if
housing,
people-
or,
Or if people
yeah.
think housing is more important than anything else, then, oh, this is also open space. They need to understand the whole thing, and they need to understand that it requires a vote of the town meeting, and that money comes from the state and from local taxes and things like that. It's a big deal. And, you know, we tried to sell it well when.
twice.
Twice, and failed, and we have to sell it better. And one of the ways to do that is to package it.
Oh, our computer person.
And in the right way.
You
I,
are-
I didn't have a solution, but I had that same
Mrs.
question,
Romer,
like, where, what
it's
do
above and
other
beyond
towns
the
that
call of
are
duty.
Right.
putting this
And-
into their?
And when
Thank
we
you,
get,
Val.
You're a good woman.
when we get to the part about,
Nice, too.
of the revised,
Yeah, she's a
Make-
lovely lady.
I think there's a spot in there where you can put it and say, this applies to all these things, and then move on.
Yeah, I
But-
feel like somebody has had to have already done this somewhere. Like there's gotta be a, not that we can't pave our own path with it, but that we can't be the first town to be implementing the goal of a,
Every town around us already
Yeah.
has it.
well, currently,
They've already done it.
but,
They've already done
I'm
it.
sure MAPC has wonderful write-ups on this.
Lancaster, Lancaster just passed it. We were talking with, oh my gosh, she was working with the state rep in Berlin. She lives in Berlin, and she was part of the
Oh, this is-
committee, that CPA committee, and Berlin passed it. And the process that they went through was very involved.
Oh, that's
And So
right.
there are people out there that can help you to,
But
It was years ago.
This is
Pull it
actually
down.
designed
I
for
know.
this room.
But my only point
Really?
That
is
goes
that
under the
Under-
it should
You
be,
have to push it, I think
Under
it's.
here?
No, I
there
think
should
it's
be
the
a
back.
thing on
I
CPA.
think
What's
it has to, oddly enough.
If you want to then, after that,
Yeah, so that.
put it in each of the places where it fits, that's fine.
Oh, that's what you said.
It
that
needs
whole
to be
thing.
worded correctly each time, and it's worded differently by each
I
group.
think this.
And, and it gives the impression, I mean,
Yeah.
in some it says study or figure out something, in other places it says implement. Well, it's really gotta be approved, because
Yeah,
it's the approving that's the
yeah,
issue.
you got, it's the.
Once it's approved, implementing,
This
is straightforward. We've gotta get the bloody thing approved by the town,
Yeah,
and they have to understand what's there.
yeah, Stowe was one of the first towns to adopt it.
Yeah, and they've done.
And,
Easier
you know,
early
so
on.
you,
Yeah.
you can go
Yeah.
online and see all of the projects and the process. You know, a lot of projects were voted down, you know. Right now, they're kind of stuck with their library because they approved renovations to the library. And now that the costs are in, it's over, and so it's on hold, which is really unfortunate. And, you know, this is what we're seeing now with the costs of labor and materials.
no, look at just the cost, the reason they're rebidding the plumbing for the library, you know, the problem with the bathroom didn't work, is because they didn't get any bids on the first time out.
Interesting.
Zero. Zero bids on it.
Interesting.
If we're talking about one-pagers, let's do a one-pager on CPA.
Okay,
And then, and you can put it wherever you want to, but one-pager by itself on CPA.
yeah, because most people
Touches
who
on
live
the
in town
three
don't
pieces.
even know what the CPA is.
Right, so that's why you want to have
Yeah.
a one-pager on it, that helps to sell it, that says all these other towns already have
Oh.
the kinds of things you can spend it on, and all of that. And if we have that, then
So what should
a
I?
reference can be made to that by any of the other goals,
What are you guys looking
objectives,
for?
actions, or whatever it is.
A power
so
outlet?
kind of a double whammy. Here it
I don't
is,
know if it works
and then
before.
Yeah,
boom, oh, and then a
Yeah.
reader would see it again,
Yeah.
and see it again,
And-
and see it again.
and we're not, if we're talking about these one-pagers as being topic areas, we're not being exclusive, of saying, oh, you can only have X number of them. So let's do it, one-pager on CPA.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense.
And then let's reuse it at town meeting when we have to try to get them to vote.
Well, I mean, it's gonna take a few years.
Well, it really comes down to the money, that's what sunk it the last time.
Well, and it's a hard ask right now.
I think if you
what to
sell
go
it,
through.
if you sell it right,
I think if
You-
I would,
I
but
don't
it
think,
needs to
I don't
be
think
done.
it would take years if we do it right and we attach it to the master plan, that you could either make the case to approve it at the same time, or you could make the case that next time around, we're gonna be back for this. Maybe even say, if the master plan gets approved at an annual meeting, say, we're gonna be coming back to you at a special to pick this up or something, but
Well, just
I think-
remember,
I
the
think it
first
can be
hit
done
on the
within a year.
taxes is in January of '25 from the school bonding. That's when the first hit
Is
shows
it,
up.
okay.
So that's when everybody will drop
Now,
their jaws.
this
Other-
is,
yeah,
People
but,
are
we-
already
you know,
dropping
even
their
if we're,
jaws.
you form a committee for CPA, you won't be ready by 2025.
that's possible. It could be right.
I think we just need to be careful of, it is, we need the town to approve the master plan.
And it's gotta be separate from CPA.
And if we are putting too much forward with and I think it should be in there 100%, because the master plan is coming from the lens of what is best for the town, right? But you've got a lot of people that are gonna say, if it's gonna make my taxes go up, I'm not voting for it. And I don't wanna lose those folks on, based on the messaging and the imaging of the master
Does the
plan.
master plan have to be approved by the town?
yes.
Yes.
Not just the selectmen?
Well,
That's what I was saying. I think it's just the selectmen.
I
Just
think,
a
I
second.
don't,
I think it's just.
I don't
It's a
think-
good idea.
Well, I'm not saying it's a bad
Unless
idea,
it's
but don't
voted
say
down.
that. I think the only people that have to accept it are the
Be
selectmen.
careful what you wish.
yeah.
It may be a good idea to have the town on it, but if the selectmen accept it, that's
You're
it.
probably right.
I know I
Historically,
am. I
have we
lived through
voted
the
on
last one, remember?
You're,
Yes,
You're
I was
supposed
there
to-
too.
Yeah.
bring it to town meeting theoretically, but you run the risk of someone picking something out of there that they don't like, like.
And defeating it, and then you're,
defeating it.
you're
and
better
then-
having the selectmen, because
But
they'll
that's,
go along with
but
it.
that's also where I think it's important when we put the implementation matrix forward, that it's things like consider this versus do this. Because there,
Oh, I mean, that was my comment right across the board.
was it?
Don't
Yeah,
presume that you're gonna
explore.
implement.
Yeah.
Right, explore, right,
Yeah.
you know, and those, and I understand how that feels like it's watering things down, but it's also, this is a visionary document, it's not it's not it is legal, but it's not legally saying we are,
Well, you just look at the
Going
goal and the,
Hey, Ken, can you put your
I mean, it's
screen up?
to ensure, to plan, to implement, to
Yeah.
prioritize. It's not saying that we have to do these things.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, so prioritizing and implementing do, but
Yeah.
in a way in which
Oh,
you're
okay.
saying that it's
That's
you know,
all
I
right.
hadn't done it.
Yeah.
I think it gets a little more, for me anyway, just because I've been
But I think
wrapped up
taking
in
it
it
to
is the
town meeting
housing.
would be a mistake.
I do too. Say
I
again?
think taking it to town meeting would be a mistake.
Okay, where are we? Let's
And
do it.
nobody will have read it, so it's
Now
kind
that I'm
of
ready.
pointless.
Exactly.
Thank you.
But we were still in,
We're
I'm
still
too young
on
to be
municipal
that cynical,
services.
Mary.
We're still on
Very first
municipal.
one page.
Not that I'm feeling very
We're on the
young,
first
but
one.
I mean, like, you've had the longevity to.
Does anybody
I've
have
heard
any
it said
objections
too.
to the minute, for Brian's writing?
The-
or anything
No,
that's
on this, I
exactly-
thought this was great.
What did he write?
He wrote the whole thing. He and I sat, and then I sent him off to write it. I'm good at delegating. You know, I've been at this too many years.
Oh, I didn't know that he was the one that did
Yeah, he writes better than anybody.
it. Sure
Yeah,
is.
he's very well spoken.
He writes well. You have to push him now and then, but yeah, he writes well.
Jeez,
You know,
incorrigible.
I'm not incorrigible, I'm just telling the truth. I love the boy dearly. He got adopted a long time ago.
Violates the truth.
I will say the municipal buildings condition report will make anyone's hair stand on end.
Yes.
Have you seen that?
I haven't read it.
It's not good for
Yeah, it isn't.
I kind of observe it firsthand.
I was seriously, you're living it, right? You're living it, unfortunately.
Yeah, in fact, in the smallest location possible.
Well, in Europe.
I'm amazed you
that's
took
right
the
up to
job, considering, did they show you
Hey, hey,
the
hey,
office
hey.
afterwards?
Okay,
Yeah.
I guess what I would suggest then is that objective 1 under goal 2 should be slightly reworded. It says select board to appoint a committee, but what you really want to say is, I don't know, but,
I want them to appoint a committee.
yes, I understand, but if it says select board to appoint a committee, doesn't seem to me to be worded correctly.
Oh, I see, it's the wording.
It's the wording. Oh,
Well, that's you and
nothing
Brian
to
to
word.
discuss.
Well, all right, I thought you wanted inputs now.
All right, select board appoint a committee,
That's
we're
what I
gonna
had.
take out. the-
I do on housing,
Is
just to
that
be clear.
what we're talking about?
Take
So you
2 out.
modify it?
If you just say select board appoint a committee to assess and say instead of to appoint, you sort of says that the objective is
Yeah,
select
that
board.
would be helpful.
Advise the select board?
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Take the 2
Well,
out.
I think the objective would be that
Take the two
the
out?
select board would appoint, so.
Yeah,
so-
select board appoint a committee to assess
Yeah, that would be
feasibility.
fine. That would be fine.
Second
Okay, keep
aspect
going,
ratio.
Ken. If we get stuck on this, we'll never get through all the rest of it.
Well, that may be, but,
I know, but we don't wanna be here all night. We'll freeze our little tushes off. Did someone turn the heat on here? Did you turn the heat when you got home?
It's fine. That's right, jeez.
Turn the heat on before we all freeze to death.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah,
okay,
it's at
so,
65.
so and this is a general question, I guess, about
Turn it down
objectives.
when we leave, but
Is the objective to review something, or is the objective to improve something? In other words, it says review the emergency preparedness plan to enhance the community's resilience. Wouldn't we want to say that the objective is to enhance the community's resilience and
if you're talking about the emergency preparedness plan, it's nearly done. Jeff has written it with MEMA. So if we're gonna say review the emergency preparedness plan, let's not comment on it because you haven't read the bloody thing. So put a period after plan and leave it to enhance resilience and response capabilities. And put that someplace else.
But I'm trying to think bigger here. Isn't the objective, I mean, this is a 10-year plan.
Yeah.
Isn't the objective more than just reviewing a plan?
Yes, but let's put it in a different
The objective
sentence.
is to enhance.
Well, let's not enhance something until you read it. All
Why?
I'm saying is
Why?
read it and
But-
then comment.
No, but,
Something like, said, put a
but
period after
isn't,
plan.
isn't the purpose of the emergency preparedness plan to describe how you're going to enhance the community's resilience and response capabilities?
No, it's much more detailed than that.
I
It's,
didn't say that it wasn't, but as an objective, isn't that its objective, to enhance its capabilities, the town's capabilities?
well, I wouldn't say to enhance. You can put it with the idea of enhancing the community's resilience and response, but not to enhance, because how can you do something
Okay.
until you've read the bloody
Oh,
thing?
okay, well,
See what I'm saying?
we're speaking across each other rather
Get
than
rid of
it's
another
about the
two.
same thing. Because it seems to me that if the plan is almost done, then we can finish that objective in 6 months or a year or whatever it is, and then what do you do next? What you want to do is enhance the community's resilience and response capabilities, right?
Yeah, but we don't know what's in
I
there.
understand that. I'm not saying we know.
I mean, when this was first written, they were assuming there was one, and there wasn't.
No, that is not assuming it at all. But even if there weren't, it doesn't make any difference.
Well, from the way I read it, it exists already.
Yeah, well, it
Well,
doesn't.
I agree,
It's
I
in the
agree.
process of existing.
Which is all the more reason that it ought to be reworded.
I agree.
It just seems to me that the objectives should be more than just reviewing something. I guess that's what I'm talking
And
about.
that's fine.
Because
So,
in looking at the next one, it's the same idea. So you review the networks and educate people, but what if you, I don't know.
See, I'm comfortable with 2, but I agree with you on 1. I think you should review the plan and then you should look to how much community resilience and
Right.
response capabilities there
And
are.
what about just putting the words "in order to"? Review it in order to enhance the community's resilience and response capabilities.
To ensure enhancement, I mean, like, we're kind of getting somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. So just
Oh, I
like
think
that.
insurance is
We
a
feel-
good idea.
Yeah, objective 2 is a little odd too.
And to the point of these one-pagers, when it comes into existence, it should be linked right there. If it's not in existence yet, because it's in process, which is fine, then perhaps instead of saying review, it could say complete.
Yeah, but he may have it done next week. You know, he really is that
Okay,
close.
so then it would just, I think then this should asterisk, until we go public with this document, it just needs a little asterisk that says, you know, check to
In process.
completion before printing or something. So that, you know, if it's that close, I didn't realize it was that close
Yeah,
to being done, then it sounds
Yeah.
like it may be done before this goes to the press, if you will.
but if you say to it, plan to insure it. What did you say, to insure?
Oh, in order to enhance, is what I said, but I think,
In order
I
to,
mean,
as
that's
it
what I
says,
see the
to.
goal as, is to enhance the community's resilience.
Or to build upon the community's resilience.
It's all saying the same
Yeah, I think
thing.
that's.
It's all saying the same thing, it's just
Exactly,
the best way to
semantics.
say it. To ensure community resilience and response capabilities, and just replace ensure with, for you, enhance,
Yeah, let's put in should,
ensure instead of enhance.
and that's it. Let's move quickly to the next bullet.
Yeah, that's, I'm fine with that.
Okay, objective 2, that looks fine to me because they don't know anything about it, and that'll probably fall out of objective 1. That's, and objective 3 is fine.
Yeah. We go-
Okay, goal 4 is fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I love the key.
Perhaps
Right
good
in the
things.
middle.
But that's what people will read too, because they'll understand the kind of the layman's.
Yeah, I mean, when they look at the implementation matrix, there's gonna be sticker shock.
Yeah,
Well, of course.
Well, and we gotta be careful about prioritization and keeping it in context.
okay.
Okay, moving on to housing.
Things that are in red were things that I had a question, would love your input on, especially if it's still in red. Anybody needs a copy in front of them, you know?
All right, I think before this goes public, I think we need to have a standard format for the one-pagers. Because this was quite different.
I
And I'm not
changed them all to
criticizing
the
it.
housing.
I'm not criticizing it, I just,
I
Yeah, you've
changed,
changed them all to
I
housing.
changed them all to the
That's good.
housing.
That's
oh,
good.
okay, great.
Thank you, Sandra.
Oh, sure, no, I'm glad people liked it, it was just
Yeah.
a try. Ken, did you say you wanted a copy of this one?
No, I've got.
Oh, you got it, okay, I'm sorry, thank you.
Get rid of the apostrophe ends. Sorry.
Oh, gosh, yeah, thanks.
Where's the apostrophe?
Yep, there's a typo, goodness.
It's not, it is.
It is more, yeah. Gosh, I just taught that to my 5th graders, that's embarrassing. Good thing this isn't recorded.
Oh,
They'd be like, this is dirty.
I'm updating those housing.
Yeah, so
Issues,
there
yeah.
was like Erica Uriarty had like a Excel spreadsheet, and it had literally all of the approved, permits for things like, any new builds, phosphorus, anything that fell under phosphorus, things like that. So I know that I grilled either her or Valerie for all of that data up until the, June of 2021. So just anything past that date in red
I
that I
got,
should add.
I have the report, I just have to figure out which type of development they are, so I have. the
Oh,
report,
okay.
So
Oh,
I'm
perfect,
doing that,
okay.
yeah.
And yeah, I was gonna say, if you need any help with that, or I have printouts of the old report that I have, if you wanted to match it up, just to make sure it's the
Or
right
and
one. or-
what I have in would be
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
the best thing to do.
So
Yeah.
if you wanna meet up at any point.
Sure, yeah, or you can email it to me and I can complete.
Well, it's
and
like
use it.
literally a paper copy, so I could drop it off to you.
Oh, okay.
I am so ridiculously old school. I might be the youngest one here, but I am not. I am old school, paper copies.
All right,
So,
so
but I will
I'll
get them to you.
update
Here's
that
the
question
one
mark.
here. Doesn't therefore have an E at the end?
So,
Probably.
Yes.
Where's that?
are we commenting on this?
Yes,
Please. But where's therefore first?
comment.
So, I'm a harpy. Goal 2, second bullet,
Wait a minute, go
in the
to.
red in the town center.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I like the change.
It's a residential area, there is housing there. It's actually the most affordable
Mhm.
part of town at this point.
But I think to have, I think to
And
say
there's no
change.
room for
And do you agree?
more housing.
So do you
in the
agree
town
about
center.
changing it to inappropriate look?
Inappropriate location.
That was, yeah, that was my
Absolutely.
suggestion. I just
Yeah.
wanted to make
I
sure
agree.
everybody agreed. 'Cause
All right,
this
that's
is,
done.
what I did with goals and objectives was I pulled it,
The conversation continues.
I pulled it directly off of the document, so
Isn't that
that
what you
was, I think it was you, Mary, who had commented, or maybe Kia, who had commented on it, and
Well,
I also
we just make
agreed to that
decisions
comment,
fast.
so I wanted to make sure.
So, I have a question, because when the mixed-use village overlay was created, planning realized that the housing component of it wasn't going to work, and so they took it out, from what I understand.
We're gonna revisit that whole thing. We're gonna go back and look at the original draft that was put together for town.
Because initially, the whole concept of mixed-use village overlay was to incorporate housing and commercial and all of that. And I guess they were getting feedback from developers that the housing component did not work for them.
Yeah, with dead in the
And
water.
so it disappeared. So are we still gonna push it? Because I think it's a great concept.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that would be good there.
but it's gonna be reviewed very carefully. And,
This is a benefit for putting Bob on the planning board,
and,
right?
right.
Yeah, no, it's nice to know where things stand.
Okay,
He tends to hold their toes to the fire.
no, I don't, I
Yes,
just
you-
make suggestions. I make suggestions, right?
He holds the toes to the fire.
Now, this one doesn't have the
I don't have it.
caveat paragraph.
That's right. I
Oh,
did
that's
a
right.
opening paragraph without a caveat paragraph, you're absolutely right, and so also, you know,
Do you want other key points on this?
I didn't
He
know,
said that should be on all of them,
I think it should be on all of it.
so what would you
Yeah.
suggest? I'm happy to put one.
the same thing,
But,
just copy and
well,
paste.
we just, you know, well,
The-
just a minute, that's a really good point. If it's a topical area that looks like it could cost a significant piece of change, then it ought to be put on. But in the case of housing, it may be the other way around. That really, it's not an issue with respect to cost to the town, taxpayers, et cetera. So I
What
think-
about the children? That's always a housing debate, right?
Yeah,
The children that are generated, we could mention something about
Yeah, and-
multifamily housing
and-
generating a lower
yeah,
number
and-
of school.
And also town services. So, yeah, I'd be inclined to put it on it, if you want it on all of them, rather than making judgments on them, I would just do it on all of them.
So I heard that the school children, topic, and then I heard increased municipal services, was it increased that you said?
Yeah,
So those are both things that people will contend, right? So those are like two areas where, am I giving an opinion on that, or am I just pointing out that these are so Brian's was the elephant in the room, and this, here's the tax page and understanding the trade-offs, et cetera, et cetera. For example, this, how many school-age children are coming in, the Alta Valley, Neshoba Valley, is gonna be 229 units. There's a lot more 3 bedrooms there than there was up at,
Main Street?
nope, up in Boxborough. And yet, those are the numbers that we've got, right? So it's a very gray area.
Yes.
So I
It's hard
hesitate to
pin
put it
down.
on as a key point, other than to say it's a gray area, because it's a, you've hit two very, I agree with you that those are the spots, but, I don't know that it's a productive paragraph if I'm just saying, well, here's the,
Well, I think you can moderate it. I mean, you can point out that it is a gray area, and there is potential to have a requirement for additional municipal services and schools,
Right,
and leave it at that, right?
yeah, I mean, that's what population growth does, and housing is gonna increase the population. There's no other way to look at it.
schools and
We have 4-bedroom houses with 2 people in them. We have a few of those, actually.
But in fact, that's what's selling.
Yeah, it is.
It's not, all the 4-bedroom houses, very few are going to
And they
families.
look
They're going
at
to
half acre.
two adults with no kids. So,
That's why they have the money to buy them.
yeah.
That's right.
wait, say that again? What did you just say?
I said that a huge majority of houses being sold today, the 4-bedroom houses, are
Yes,
not going to families. They're going to a couple.
really?
Yeah,
Yes.
huge numbers compared to it used to be.
In Bolton?
In Bolton,
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
but what's interesting is when we built our house here, we did not want a 4-bedroom house. However, when you're paying what you pay for land,
And for septic,
Yeah.
you have to put a big house. And that's unfortunately what has happened in this town, where you've got big houses because you've got expensive lots. I mean, you can't build a ranch on a $200,000, $300,000 lot, which I wish we had.
All right, I will add that
I don't know
paragraph.
if you've heard the story, I was rolled into my yacht club in Boston about a year ago, and there was a Mercedes-Benz parked. And you know those little outlines in the back of particularly station wagons that have the mother, the father, 4 kids, a cat, a dog, etc. And in the back of this Mercedes-Benz was the mother and the father and a pile of cash higher than both of them and a cat.
Truth. They're not wrong.
Okay, so if
So
you
yeah,
can,
I'll
if you
get
can
that.
moderate that and just, put a.
Couple sentences about how it impacts
Yeah.
increased population and it means increased school-age children usually.
Yeah,
But,
but not definitely, you
No,
know,
and I
I will
would make
tell
sure
you-
that don't put an inevitable in there,
no, make it
because that's one of the
a
things.
possibility.
Yeah,
There are quite a few kids who live in Craftsman Village.
yeah.
Yes,
I've
there
watched-
is.
I've watched the bus, and those are 2-bedroom homes.
2-bedroom and multi-generational families too.
But, what's interesting, a lot of kids are going to Parker, a lot of kids are going to Worcester Academy, a lot of kids are now taking school choice and going to Clinton.
Mhm.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, because Neshoba's just gone,
Yeah, and Neshoba's quality is going really
Yeah.
well, so.
I can tell you some horrific stories,
No.
but I'll withhold
okay,
myself.
Oh,
that's not
man.
what-
Just in case we're on.
But there was an article in the Globe about how Massachusetts is having very few babies compared to the rest of the country. So,
Also
you've
having
got that,
more
you've got
people-
that
More
angle
people are
too.
leaving than are coming.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What's
I
next
saw that.
after housing?
water
Water,
sewage.
sewer.
Thank you guys
Water
for your
and
comments.
Sewer.
It was
I
a
have to look at
great
the-
job, thank you for doing that.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, I have only one minor thing on that, which is down under sewage. It should say a 2022 assessment of the WWTH addressed. So there are 2 222s and the second one isn't needed, and so the first one just should say
Okay.
A rather than an.
I'm sorry.
So it's just a
Down
Oh,
bottom.
see,
little,
Oh,
just a
oh, yeah.
little
the
grant,
sentence above the bottom.
it's just a little editorial thing. But otherwise, I don't have any major problems.
That's a real hidden document, the second report. That takes a look at the remaining capacity of the wastewater treatment facility.
Says there is,
Oh, there's huge.
Ours has it,
Huh?
yeah, ours has been. It's-
Oh, but I mean, there's more than half of it left.
Yeah, well, it was for the next track school we're gonna build
Right. Yeah.
on that field, on Derby Field.
But
That's now
some of the
getting redone?
recommendations are gonna be.
Yeah, because the school population is going
Okay,
down.
anything else on this?
Huh?
Can I just cut and paste Brian's thing on the bottom?
systems is misspelled on the third goal.
SYSTEMS, goal 3, sewer systems,
With
yeah,
a
there's a misspelling.
lowercase s.
And
Otherwise-
you need an E too.
Yes, otherwise I'm okay with that one.
And then that qualifier. No, I think the goals are very basic. They're not intimidating in terms of tax dollars, except for the last one.
It continues to amaze me though, in the conversation I had with Holly from the Independent about, she brought up the whole thing about, well, there's huge water problems in Bolton, aren't there? Really? No, where did you get it? Oh, people tell me about that all the time. So
Water problem?
if you can find out.
In
Let
terms
us
of
know.
quality or quantity or
No,
what?
no,
Lack of?
quantity in wells. And the reason, and we looked into it quite carefully, the reason that people are running out of water is lawn irrigation. And the reason they're digging wells is not to go down and get more water, it's to have a huge pipe that goes down 400 feet to store water in, so when they turn on their sprinklers, they've got water. And it's-
But I have a 400-foot well, because I live on the side of a hill and that's how far they had to go to get water.
Right.
Do you ever have low water?
Yeah, we fracked it a couple of
Yeah,
times.
but you have crap rock, and that's the problem. Anyway.
Yeah,
so-
yeah.
But I was quite surprised to have somebody say, well, you know, I keep hearing about water problems in Bolton. And none of the well drillers and none of the pumping people.
And I've never heard
any
anything
idea.
about a water problem.
Have you ever, you must be familiar with the well statistics that DEP maintains? Every single well in Bolton is, since about 1960, is listed in the state database with the distance to groundwater, the whole,
See,
everything.
this stuff that he
about it.
knows in his head is terrifying at times. What are we doing next, Robert?
So are we gonna have assignments to write additional one-pagers?
So you're really
So-
saying that the Great Brook water is good?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
So, a while
because he
ago,
dug up all
I
that oil that
was
was
talking
contaminated.
to Randy, and, I was saying, I don't know why they're putting up a skating rink in the Common, because you have a perfectly good one over at the Pond Park.
Because it doesn't.
And Randy's comment was, would you want your child skating and falling down and coming in contact with fecal matter or whatever?
And that's where we gotta kill it. Now, I will talk to Randy tomorrow morning about
Well,
that.
this was a conversation over a year ago, so I.
Oh, no, a year ago, I was the kid who had to crawl through that tunnel under the
Mm.
common. And let me tell you, it was one of the more interesting aspects of its construction. It was horrible, and yeah, it was, and then, and there was stuff draining directly into Great Brook from the gas station initially.
Yeah,
When I demolished the gas station, one of the things we found was the bathroom had the sewage pipe went directly into Great Brook. It
That's
just went
horrible.
straight into Great
Yeah.
Brook.
Wow.
also, you have a skating rink, because you can put that much ice in and get ice, and not that much.
Well, when we do the third grade walk, and the barn is no longer there, but there used to be a hole in the barn floor, and we would ask the students why there was a hole in the barn door, and the Great Brook flows directly.
I've got a picture of a three-hole outhouse directly over Great Brook. Anyway, a little more history.
Anyway, are there gonna be assignments to aren't the other ones, or?
I thought we were just doing the ones that were more controversial. You wanna do it for every chapter?
I'm not
That
sure.
was the
what
question.
the chapter, I think we do. Let's talk, I mean, as we go through, the goals and implementation, why don't we identify the ones that we think are sufficiently, not necessarily interesting, but we feel the public is uninformed about, or not appropriate enough.
Thank you for that.
Is
Is
that-
For
this,
part of reach.
That was one of the things I
This
made
is
a
the
point
thing,
about with
these are the
press.
ones we're doing now.
okay. The new one that
I could make a
Olivia.
case for having one on land use.
Yeah, that's,
No, let's discuss the rest.
but let's go through them.
Okay,
Okay.
land use is first, right?
So we just, so we jump
Yes.
into the,
Land use is number one?
that document, then?
I do have one thing I want to throw in. Somewhere, I would love to get something in here about the town should have a grant writer. Every single department would jump through hoops to get someone who could write the grant. They could go and say, there's this grant, this is what I want in it. If you can write it, I'll tweak it, and we're out of here. They spend way too much time writing grants. If they had one person that was really good at writing grants, that person would pay for themselves in a day.
Oh, a week.
I agree.
Oh, wait. 2 days.
No, and I mean,
I think that'd be more helpful than the economic development.
Yeah, I think the grant writer is, and no one's ever talking about it except me trying to,
well, and
Loud.
Rebecca decided she was gonna take that on.
yeah, but she can't do it for all the
No,
departments.
she-
We all do our own if we
Yeah.
want.
Yeah, basically, everybody
It's-
does
it's
their own,
almost
and it
like
takes up a huge amount of time.
Bullet in your resume nowadays. I feel
But
like.
having been,
That's
Not
the
that
way
it
it's
should
always
be,
been.
but- Has it?
I mean, having a grant writer who has
Other
all the
places.
boilerplate,
Right,
who understands
I
what
can knock 'em
really
out.
is required and can knock them out.
right, and has access to grants that even they don't know about.
And there should be a repository of every past grant application, comments that came back from the agencies.
But you have to get the grant writer first.
Is that not something that falls under the purview of our town administrator?
Yeah, I mean, it would.
But I think we need to bring up the subject.
Well, I mean, just,
That was his
And
job in
people-
Clinton.
Margaret, our town administrator is checked out. He's going
I
bye-bye,
understand that.
you know, it's like our chief.
But
No,
maybe
that's
for
just
the
a
next
comment
one.
that-
Maybe.
Yeah, but
for the
it's-
next-
Okay.
He at least oversaw a
Sorry,
lot of
stop,
good,
stop.
but it is a good.
I think we all agree that we really ought to have grant writers.
Yeah, somehow we gotta get that in there. Anyhow, I'll shut up now.
All right.
Land
Right now,
use.
I mean,
Do you
you're
want me to
right.
add that as a note?
Yes, I do.
But not under land use.
No, it's just that I'd written it at the top of the page and
Municipal
I knew it.
services, I think, would be
Yeah.
best.
Yeah,
So,
Let me write that down.
you want a pencil?
Or it should be.
No, I'm not writing.
Unfortunately, it's underneath the projector.
so I want, and is Olivia the one that rewrote this, or did you rewrite this?
No, Olivia did.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I want to compliment her on
Yeah, this is a huge improvement.
incorporating at least my comments, if not other people's.
No, she did. She
It was very good.
Yeah, no, this was a
Um,
huge improvement.
So, if you're done with goal one, I have a comment suggestion on goal two.
Is that housing? Oh,
No,
yeah,
land
okay.
use.
Let's go back.
I just
Do
want
I
to
have
add that
that
note
note?
in there.
Okay, so goal
This is the
two,
one you wanna be looking at.
goal 1-2
I have
Um,
hard copies if you need.
I would like.
is
a hard
about
copy.
phosphorus.
All my notes-
Second.
I'm sorry, Karen. Apparently I have an old version.
Well, let's write it there. So the objective is improve phosphorus. And my suggestion was that we put all of the phosphorus-related actions under that goal,
You're a good one. That's what I-
because there are other ones in climate, and there are various ones in housing, and if we consolidated them all, right there, the objective is to improve phosphorus. And so you can put all the actions under that, that that would involve it. And it would really focus on what you wanted to do to improve phosphorus.
Well, I mean, the problem I have with that is that climate affects transportation and roads, affects agriculture, affects, a huge number of things. And to just stuff it in phosphorus, yeah, that's part of it.
No, there's only, I believe that there are two actions in climate, 952 and 946, that deal with phosphorus. All the rest of climate doesn't. And all I'm saying is, if you put those two things here in phosphorus,
Oh, okay.
then you would get everything having to
That's
do
fine.
with phosphorus,
In
and be
phosphorus.
taken care of in this goal.
That's fine, that's a good one.
And that way, people would be able to see the breadth of the importance of the improvements and the fact that it affected land use, it affects housing, it affects this, that, and the
I
other.
just misunderstood.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we
So,
start?
so the two that I noted are 952 and 946, both deal with phosphorus. There may be other ones later on in housing that do, I don't remember, but that's just a suggestion that I have.
No, and that's, as a matter of fact, that was discussed last night in depth.
So you wanna move
So,
those two
and
to
956?
here?
Yeah, and just make them part of whatever it is,
1.22.
125 and 126 or something like that.
So 946 and 952,
Correct.
Yeah,
Those are the two that I noted. Now, there may be some other ones.
No,
Those
those
are
are
just
two-
examples.
those
that
are too critical.
Those were just examples that I noted. There may be some under housing that are that way too, I'm not sure.
Now, what got discussed last night about phosphorus and going with a more tougher requirements with phosphorus is that it be, we talk about reducing it to 10 acres. Yeah, so I would talk 10 plus acres in size instead of 15.
Would you consider Houghton Farms a good example of phosphorus done right or not? I know they kind of backed out of the affordable housing component.
They always back out of the affordable housing.
And it ended up being bigger, more expensive houses than what originally.
Well, and I think that's something that we need to address very specifically, that you can't buy your way out of affordable housing. You kind of build it.
Well, and so that's one of the objectives in the housing
Right,
is
exactly.
getting that done on that lot
Right.
13.
Yep. But if
Just
it's,
point
you know,
it out.
It
much
seemed
cheaper.
odd to me to point out something so specific.
It's
Well,
like
I said the
literally
same
sitting
thing.
there.
I said exactly the same thing, that it seemed too specific. That
Okay.
What you could say is just affordable units on 40B parcels, such as,
Oh, it's not a 40B
Or-
parcel
No, it's
though.
not a 40B parcel.
Yeah,
It's a
so this,
phosphor.
this is
or it's just
a,
phosphorus, okay, I thought it was a 40B.
and it fell under actually,
Okay, well, or say phosphorus or,
But that was a
40.
negotiated truce, was it not?
wasn't it, or was it under the inclusionary housing bylaw? I don't know, I wasn't part of the, I wasn't part of the negotiations at all on it. But bottom line was that lot was given in lieu of something else, I think,
okay. But the only point though is,
maybe the fund.
is that action should be broadened, because
Yeah, that makes
they're not,
sense.
they're not gonna be the only one.
They
So
are
you-
actually right now, I believe.
But they are,
So,
but you know that
But
they
that
will be.
circumstance could happen
And so,
again if
yeah,
we
so-
continue with
so
our current
just say-
bylaws.
So just say that
Yeah.
seek a nonprofit partner to build affordable units on, you know, in developments that have them, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, it's an interesting,
And then just
Yeah.
remember that that's one that, which you were gonna remember anyway, that you're gonna push.
People have to take a look at the more recent structures that have been built by Habitat for Humanities. Sometimes, some of them are gorgeous, they really are, they're small. They're not what people think of as habitat housing.
Okay, so it's in,
So is that housing?
yeah, that was on housing 2.122.
point two. And now 2.1.4 is where CPA gets introduced.
Right, so it's in there, so it should be in all, I mean, all the other applicable,
It's,
E-
yeah, it's in here
Or
multiple
it should all
times.
be put in one place.
yeah.
which I think is better, but,
Well, I think you should hammer it home every place you can.
well, if you're gonna do it, then you need to have identical language that explains it, and have a one-pager somewhere that pulls them all together to
Right, I agree
explain the
with your
whole
one
thing.
pager, but I think where it can be used, it should be mentioned.
And the one pager should address all of its potential applicability.
Makes sense.
Well, and, you know, just our next door town has done a phenomenal job in a wide range of applications.
These are all lofty goals, but I mean, I think of like that senior housing development that's going on in South Bolton Road. That, from what I'm seeing, is
Where is this one on South
$900,000, am I correct on that, as a cost?
South
They're
Bolton,
gonna be big.
Yeah.
down by, where, how far now?
In between Spectacle Hill.
I think the access is better.
Yeah, right before Wheeler Road almost.
Right before
It's-
Bonnezzoli's old house.
Yeah, it's old Bonnezzoli land.
Oh, okay.
And the other thing with with senior housing is you need more than just putting a bedroom on the first floor.
Hmm.
There's a lot that goes into making things adaptable for seniors. I
Are
mean,
there
wide
guidelines on
doorways, you know,
I'm sure there
handles.
are,
I'm sure there must be.
there sure there are, I can
that-
find you
Yeah,
some.
the-
I
I
mean,
don't know
it's
if
sort of
you,
an extension.
I don't know
of
if you
ADA.
watched it, but
Yeah,
this old house had a great reconstruction of a house in Lexington to be,
The handicap
to
sign.
be handicap accessible because the kid in the family has a degenerative disease and so needed to have things on elevators and things on one floor and accessible
Wire
Um,
doors.
shower and all this sort of stuff.
But it's-
yeah, let me see what
I mean, it's
I can
light
get.
switches, it's handles, it's,
Right.
wide doorways for
Right.
wheelchairs. I
Right,
mean,
exactly.
it's the shower, you,
Yeah, let me see what I can get on senior housing and, that kind of thing. I'm sure
Yeah,
there's stuff
COA
out there.
ought to be all over that, right?
Um,
Yeah, COA, I'm not sure we're all over it, but we
Well,
sure
you ought
have.
to,
Okay, in-
you ought to at least know.
In 215,
Well, I have to talk to them.
AARP has a program on it. I mean, they've even had a.
Yeah,
215.
in 215, it says reapply the
Mhm.
housing choice designation in 2025. I think a phrase explaining that would be helpful.
what number are you on?
2.1.5,
Oh, one
right
point.
below, right below the CPA.
He's looking at, here, I'm looking.
Yeah,
Because
But this
I have
isn't
no,
the
I have no idea
appropriate-
what it means,
yeah.
and if we don't know what it means,
So,
You
I
know-
can
one
tell
else
you what it
will.
you know
means,
people out there are not gonna.
because
have
we
a
voted
clue.
on it as a town, we had to vote it to approve
Well,
it.
that may be,
So
but,
it is it gives our town access to funds
well,
for,
but why did we vote it down?
no, we voted for it, we are
Why
a
not?
part of it.
What's reapply then?
You have to, it's just part of the process, you reapply to the state for that designation every so many years.
You have to approve housing production
Well,
over the changes that you made.
I think
So,
If you
Pam will know
simply-
more, at that point,
if you
Pam will know
simply
more, I don't
add-
know more.
if you simply add a phrase to the sentence that explains what it is,
Yeah, that
then
would
I'm
help.
happy.
Yeah, well, and I'm wondering, does it go here in the implementation matrix, or does it go in my housing one pager? That's kind of where I'm going with my question, or my statement.
No, it probably,
Your choice, or both.
no, but it both, I should think. It definitely
Okay.
needs to go here.
Just, see, what I did in reviewing all of this
Yes, please.
is I put myself in the place of somebody receiving this in the town who didn't really know anything. And that's why I reacted to having municipal services first and thinking that land use was better. And
Got
asking,
it.
what do we call these
Okay, no,
black
that, I get
areas?
it.
Because you can't tell just by looking at this matrix.
Yeah, and I,
And
yeah,
this is an
that's a
example of
helpful
one.
lens.
I mean, if you look at 1.6, I understand that one, that's not a problem. But it's 2 lines and the other one is 2/3 of a line. So just
Yeah, I love
add
it.
a little explanation to it and you're good.
And I think
Well-
I'll add it in my one pager too.
If you look at the updated implementation matrix from 2006, a lot of those implementation recommendations are much longer than a line. There's almost a narrative
I'm sure.
that explains in more
I
detail
did
what
look
it
at all
really
this,
means.
okay. I have forgotten over the 4 years.
And also, with respect to housing, the update includes a lot of detail. Anyway, I think one thing, we either need to do it, and that may overwhelm the document, or provide a narrative that has references in it. That if people need to be informed about what this
Right.
is, we need to have something in it. And that probably ought to be, I'm not sure, we ought to talk to the DSC about how that gets into the narrative in the recommendations of the master plan. Because it's where we are, where we want to go, and a detailed to-do list, which is the
Right.
implementation plan.
So in the buying down at Woods Way, so the selectmen rejected an opportunity not that long ago. How many units are left that are affordable in that development?
I should think very few at this point.
Which
I mean,
development, I have no
so-
idea.
But I think having buying down
Well,
as
which way?
an action is a good idea, though.
Yeah.
Well,
For
yeah,
that
that's a
reason.
good idea, but if our select board keeps,
Understand, but, well, so it's an action, in that case, it's their action. But,
yeah.
but it's also needs to be funded, so and that makes it a bigger
What did we
action.
use
But
them
you're
for?
right, people need to understand that, though, and it certainly was not understood in years gone by, and but I can
11.
remember approving more money for some of those things, and you're saying, geez, we went to all this trouble to set these aside, and now they're going away because
Mhm.
we're sitting.
That's
there
one of the
and-
objectives, right? To
Yeah,
buy
and so
down.
we've
Yeah.
gotta
Yep.
do better on that.
Okay,
So there were
Um,
28 original units,
right.
and there are 11 that are still on the affordable housing as of 2021.
Well, that could be worse. 225 and 226 either need to be reversed or put mixed-use village overlay district in the first one.
Yep, I follow that.
It doesn't matter, but
Makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
but you get
But it's
the idea, though.
I would combine the two. All right?
Um, Sure, you could say, identify priority development areas and expand existing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you could combine them, that'd be fine.
Ken's good at this.
Can we go back for 1 second, Ken? To one prior to that, or do you want to keep going and then I'll jump in after?
Oh, by all means, no, by all means, go back.
Okay, can we look at 223? Allow all duplexes and small multifamily development on single lots as a by right use? So are we comfortable with suggesting taking away that discretionary oversight that the town currently has?
You don't
And-
allow,
I'm,
Well, we currently don't even allow multifamily, but if
Well,
we
that's
do,
what
it's like,
we talked about with
I
the
was-
planning board is taking, breaking the town down into various types of residential districts. So you start off by taking a look at one area in which you want to try this and do it either by right. And developers are much happier, obviously, than by right than they are with special
So-
permit.
I just think you have to be careful.
yeah,
No,
that's
I agree with you, it's,
because, and
I didn't know
suggesting
what
to
to say
this
about it,
current
but I agree
town
with
that
you.
we're gonna put their current lot into a different residential zoning district than it currently is in, which is our 2-acre zoning, that's
well, yeah,
it seems
and-
extreme
yeah.
to me.
And the other thing that should probably be better explained is what it means to say small multifamily development.
Yeah, explain to
Because
me
does that
what.
mean
Well, I think
three?
that's the Randall
Does that mean 3 or
Air-
does that mean 6?
That's the devil's in the details, right?
Yeah,
Like that's,
exactly, so,
that,
yeah, this is a,
but for me, it's the by right that's more concerning, to be honest with you. I think at some point, we're gonna have to, whether it's duplexes,
All
multifamilies,
right.
small, whether, I liked that idea with oversight by the planning board, which would fall under a phosphorid, right? Because then it's coming to the planning board.
So-
But if you do it by right, they're passing Title V and they're passing the Wetlands Protection Act.
So why don't we,
Like, there's
why don't
nothing
we
else there.
reword it to say,
Oh, no, I mean,
investigate allowing duplexes and multifamily development on existing lots.
Why can't you allow it? I mean, what's the big deal? We
Well,
actually
that's
have
a directive.
duplexes in the town center.
Now we're,
Seems to me that the
We're allowing.
principal issue is wells.
Well, then it would have to go through the process of, you know, how many
the one thing you're not
Bathrooms
gonna bypass.
occupants and, I mean, it would have to
either
meet all
septic
those
or
regulations,
wells. I
right?
mean, there's no way.
I mean, what's the difference between building a duplex on a lot versus building a 6-bedroom, 4-bathroom, 5-bathroom house on a lot? I mean, it's, to me, it's more a kind of a,
Snow zoning.
Well, and we got into a discussion last night, and it's going on for some time, about much higher local density housing and much larger set-asides for open space. And in order to, and that's attractive. It's attractive to both buyers and builders. You know, buyers
Mhm.
don't want a lot of land these days,
Yeah.
nor do builders, right? So a builder would be, and this is an interesting twist, it's the best world for everybody.
Mhm.
That you get lots of open space, it gets thoughtfully laid out. You know, so you look at your subdivision area, whatever it may be, you figure out what the limitations are, and limitations include open space, and then you identify the locations that are more appropriate for housing. And the ones that are more appropriate for housing will probably, can be done on much smaller lots. Maybe, as they have already, be combined septic systems. There are cases of combined wells, and you can do that. So
Multifamily units,
people have
get it.
smaller,
Yeah.
more affordable houses. The land costs less for a developer, therefore they're more willing to build a smaller house, right? And you have
You
combined
preserve.
utilities. Yeah, so
So
you
all of
can't-
that sounds
You
great
can't isolate each one of them.
no, but all of that sounds great, but you would want oversight in that process. I don't think you would want to leave it up to the developer to say
No, but if you have
where or what.
very specific guidelines on how to do that,
Yeah, but that's,
That's a
this
bylaw.
says something different, this
It
says
says by
on
right.
single
This says by
lots,
right.
on
By
single
right.
lots.
I'm not,
yeah.
yeah.
And on single, yeah, so there's, like, this is, to me, is a wide open statement that could very quickly get away from us.
I think that's why I like Ken's suggestion of saying investigate allowing duplexes and multifamily development on single lots.
Well, I would say,
Take
rather than
by
trying
right
to be
out.
that
Take by
specific.
right out. Just leave it.
Yeah, because
I
the
would-
investigative
if you were more
process
general than
is,
that,
Yeah,
You don't
I
like
would s-
investigate?
no, I think investigate is fine, but I would get out in duplexes and multifamily, et cetera, and say higher density on smaller lots.
Investigate higher density and smaller lots?
Yeah,
yeah, that's fine, I like that.
and just leave it
Yeah.
at that.
Okay.
I mean, the
And
conversation.
get by right out, because what you're saying there is you don't need a bylaw, you don't need any oversight.
Yeah.
That
that's not
scares
gonna
me.
fly.
Well, yeah, but by
Can
right
we
can
say that
have,
in another bullet though?
Investigate higher density on smaller lots?
There was another, I highlighted a detached accessory apartment as of right, but that one was a detached accessory. I didn't know if we already had that in the accessory bylaw. I thought somebody had commented that we already had that as of right.
We have
Is it attached?
attached by right, we don't have detached by right.
Got it. So that's basically saying I could build a detached, it's like what Brian did, basically, but without
Right,
the,
right, without the hassle. that you
Yeah.
go through.
that one was more palatable to me and as an as of right. Although, again, you know, if it's kind of an oxymoron, because if you're revising a bylaw, but then you're saying as of right within the bylaw, so I look to you to tell me if that even makes sense. Can you have an as of right designation within a bylaw?
You just eliminate the reference to requiring a special permit.
Okay, so then without the special
You
permit,
don't have to say as of right.
it's again, but by doing that, by saying as of right, you're basically saying, we're allowing you to do this, you don't really need to check in. So
Yeah,
However,
there's
you know,
usually a list of
yeah,
criteria
there's-
associated with,
And that
Yeah,
was a
right.
battle over the last 3 years in Harvard.
Say again?
They started with the OSRD, the Open
Yep,
Space Rule
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Development. And when they said, well, you know, these are all the guidelines for special permit, and the developer said, screw you, we're not coming in. And then they said, oh, well, okay, let's go back and rethink this whole thing and make the criteria sufficiently specific so that they can do it, quote, by right, but it's within some very, very clear guidelines. At which point they said, oh, yeah, it's much more interesting.
Which development is this?
This is their overall residential development bylaw.
they still have it as special permit under the potential changes on the website.
I don't know, do they have a
Yeah.
special permit?
Yeah, they didn't take that away.
So
I don't see it as a big
that one, yeah,
deal.
that one I'm not as concerned about, it's the one
The
that,
special permit, I think.
So if we go with
I like,
suggestions on that one, then does that change 227, which is establishing multifamily zone district? Or not?
where's 227?
At the bottom
Right
of
there.
that page,
227 is just below,
it's underneath 223,
Objectives.
Three.
that's the one shown right at the top.
objective.
Oh,
I
got
think
it.
that's fine.
Okay, I just didn't
Wait,
know that if we change the one about duplexes and stuff. to
no,
be
no,
more
I
general,
highlighted that one
Then
too.
does it become the same wording?
So again, it's not under Prospect, it's not under multi-use village overlay, this is, to be clear, this has been put in as multifamily housing that is allowed in districts which would be determined by, do we know? We don't care? We
Well, by
care,
the
we
town.
care, planning.
Well, the
Well,
district-
By the town?
Aren't we gonna add
Yeah, the districts are determined by
assignments
town meeting.
to the various boards and stuff?
Okay, got it, so we would
Oh,
have to
yeah.
vote on it.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
I just said zoning change.
Got it, okay, yep, thank you.
Oh.
I just want, I was like trying to figure, sorry Pam, I overspoke you, forgive me, say
The
again.
state requires it.
Oh, no,
I
no,
felt
no.
like I interrupted you, I'm
No,
so
no,
sorry.
no, we still have to put in the assignments into the goals is what I was thinking, but I didn't know you meant how it gets adopted or changed.
Just more of, that
I
it
just
was,
thought you meant who was gonna work on it.
gotcha, no, I'm sorry, I was more just trying to understand the action. And again, it's, you know, I'm all about the smaller housing, it's just, I've also seen it without, if there's not oversight, there are great developers of these smaller units and great people like Randall Arndt who are doing it right. And then there are people like other developments in town recently that will just strip the land and make
Yeah.
and I just want
And
for
it's very,
Bolton to
very
be
hard.
safe.
I mean, I hate to say it, but in my business career, I spent a lot of time talking about design for failure. And that expression is lean engineering. And what it means is not what it sounds like it means. It means that instead of looking at something that got screwed up and now developing yet another regulation, because you haven't written good regulations in the first place, is designing for failure. And what should have been 5 pages of regulations becomes a volume. And I think that's what we've got to be careful about, that we know we're going to have developers that are going to come into town, just like what happened on Meadow Road. I don't know if you've seen that, but clear cut,
Mm-hmm,
It's
they
worth
build.
driving by.
It's
no,
right-
I know,
Right
I,
opposite Slater's, it's horrible.
yeah, no, I have.
But I think we've got to think about that approach when we start talking about this. And I think if you can put that back up, I think we don't want to a priori decide that we're going to establish it. I think there should be investigating.
Yeah, I
you
like
know,
it.
And somehow people need to understand that it has to be voted on by town meeting, you know,
Yeah.
anything like that needs, you know, zoning has to be voted on.
Well, and that's where I wasn't sure, all of our bylaws are obviously,
And
but
maybe inserting that in the sentence.
To be voted on.
Zoning district to be voted
Yeah,
on
I
by
like-
town meeting.
Well, like
Mhm.
235 says establish a bylaw to encourage blah, blah, blah.
That should be in the narrative of the chapter, I don't think we need to add it all.
Okay,
yes, I had that. Thank you, I agree.
Okay, so that one's-
Onward and upward,
Thank you.
economic development, is that next? It is.
How about senior housing? So, 2.34, why does it have to be just for seniors? In barn conversion, I happen to be the owner of a barn, converted barn, in Mattapoisett. That was part of the Victorian house next door. And it makes a perfectly fine house. So, I don't know why it's under seniors, when I think that barn conversions can be housing for any
Yeah, I
age
agree.
group.
It actually.
I would move that.
But actually, it's not under seniors because the objective is encourage multi-generational living options.
yeah.
Right.
And it's under,
Seniors.
it's right below a senior housing bylaw, but it is not specifically addressing seniors.
I mean,
And I didn't read it that way.
see, yeah.
Oh, I see,
I mean,
I
growing
see
up in
what-
New
I see what you're
Bedford,
saying.
carriage
Yeah, because
houses,
you get the
But I don't
bullet
think
tons
it's
of
a
carriage
problem.
houses are houses or offices.
we could just say on H2-3, the goal, the main thing, create additional,
Housing
multi-gener-
opportunities,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
seniors in town.
Yeah,
I agree.
All right, so we're talking economic development.
Yeah.
In 311, my suggestion is that that be put in municipal services.
I don't think we need it.
I don't think any of us think
Well,
we
if-
need it.
If it's needed,
Take it out.
but I would not put it, I wouldn't put it first, definitely.
I can't.
Okay, that's
It's
fine,
in-
that's fine.
And we've already said we're gonna put the grant writer
Somewhere,
That's fine, that's
Municipal
fine.
wherever you.
in.
Mhm.
So let's get rid of this.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
and I'm not a fan of 3.314, sorry.
I don't think
I don't
anybody-
even know what that means, small
Well, I don't know what
business
the town
development, what are
means.
we talking
Well,
about?
I was
Right.
talking,
No, I
Working,
agree.
working out of your house, or are we talking
Um,
about,
I'm sorry, which one
Building
is that?
a-
'Cause I agree with you.
3.1.4.
Oh,
I agree,
yeah,
I don't think that
yeah.
should be in there.
Yeah,
Should we use the?
and it
Yeah,
certainly should,
location
certainly
reference
shouldn't say
again?
anything about
Yeah.
the center of town.
Yeah, it's the center town.
and
Uh,
then
locations?
then we're
Inappropriate,
talking about a zoning change.
Well,
I think we should
From
say,
residential to,
well, this is what we're
Business,
saying, if we
commercial?
change it, foster business development in appropriate locations.
that's fine
that's
with
it.
me.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's just do that and be done with it.
Get rid of center of town.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
then similarly, in 313, just say evaluate the potential of mixed-use
district.
district.
District, yeah, forget
Yeah.
town
And
center.
take town center out of there.
Well, I
So,
mean, one of
didn't
the,
we have this
Doesn't
big
make sense.
conversation on what is a town center?
Well,
So,
and there's a big
There is
discussion.
Bolton's Town Center,
You know where the town center is?
but we refer to it as a historic town center. But you could also create a town center across from the high school.
well, and that's what we've been talking about.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's-
the obvious place to do
It's
it.
how you want to define.
Well,
town
it's
center.
really not a town
Yeah.
center, it's really the place to develop,
Right.
businesses and such. But if you really, I was once said, made the mistake of saying on some public radio station, TV station, that the center of town was a blinking yellow light. Seems like an obvious place for the center of town to be. And I got a lecture that the center of town is the green next to the town hall, in front of the church, and that was the original
Oh,
town
that
center.
That
must
was
be
the
Davis
original
Hall.
one, yes.
Right in front of Davis Hall was the
Okay,
town
so
center.
getting back to 313, if we line a mixed-use district in an appropriate location,
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
because one of the things that Eric and I have been talking about forever is the possibility of doing it across from the high school.
Yeah, that's
And
very
the
low.
advantage of that is that you could have multiple businesses up on top of the hill there with one access, instead of dumping everything for 10 different businesses into 117 or Forest Mill. which
yeah,
is-
and it's an obvious place, because
Right.
bottom line is,
So, okay, we all
DPW's
agree.
gonna have to go, so.
Moving on,
Moving on, historical and resources, natural, that's you love.
Oh, wait a minute.
just a minute, hold on, hold on.
Oh, do we have more to go over?
Oh,
No,
yeah.
there's more in economic.
Um,
Okay,
Okay, so 342, going back to the,
3, 4,
going back to
2.
the stable, barn and stable
Yeah.
thing. It seems to me that they're saying there that that should also be allowed for business.
Mhm. That's how I.
But it
Well,
doesn't
there-
say that, it doesn't say that.
But
But it, and maybe it's okay, but it should say business. Because,
how would you
because
word it?
earlier you've been saying accessory apartment for people. And so this is very different potentially. It may not be very different, but it could be, and so,
So how would you say it?
for accessory businesses is what I guess what I would say.
As it
For,
relates to
where do you
economic
want
development.
the words for accessory business, at the end?
I'll just put for,
Accessory business uses.
Yeah,
Throw business in
Yeah.
front of uses.
yeah, to expand
That's fine.
allowable, business uses,
Okay.
or accessory business uses.
Makes sense to me.
Okay.
Now, the other one,
I mean, they're very adaptable buildings.
and 343 is basically what we were talking about earlier when we took the town center out of other things.
The, I mean, I just think you'd have to be careful about what uses you know, I know it's very specific and, you know, it's things like artsy stuff and, you know, photo studios and that sort of thing. I mean, you know, are you talking about a business that'll generate a lot more traffic and then you're going to start having to deal with
And that's.
parking spaces? I mean, that's where you kind of
That's a
get
big
into.
issue. Huge issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just not a good location for it.
No, it isn't. It's
I mean,
a,
ideally, we should have a big parking lot on the town common.
Well, I think a lot of that came about before we won. When people were looking at the Smith property as a shopping center and
Yeah.
as a business center. And the
Yeah,
whole
CVS or
point,
something.
the whole point was that that would destroy the center of town. And that's why we ended up with a common and people haven't given that up.
well, we ended up in common because some idiot decided to build it. And did a very good job of it, but, you know, that was a thankless job.
Well, but it wasn't an idiot.
Well,
A very surprised vice president at
I'm just picking on,
Mass Development,
nothing I like better than pick on.
only development he's ever done that didn't have anything developed on
So, are we on to natural resources?
Appropriate for development.
it. Incidentally, his next development, after
Mhm.
ours,
Who's next?
Roy Angel, vice president of Mass Development,
Yeah,
was Treetops Beer,
Um,
which is like $100 million now, and it's turned over 50 times what the initial investment was. Roy's a
So-
very happy guy.
Mhm.
So under 414, this is, I think, the first time there's a reference included in there. Do we want to have that in the final version? For us now, I agree, but do we want to have the CMHC establishing local historic districts sample
Right.
bylaw in there?
So this
I'm
is,
not convinced of that.
this is where I commented on the implementation is that if we're recommending, reproposing a local historic district, then you I mean, then you have guidelines that go along with it. So they complement each other. So why have it in two, you know, it's like the cart before the horse kind of thing? Does that make sense? 4.14?
So you're saying 4.12.
A historic
You're
district
saying
bylaws,
4.12
You
and
say 1, 2,
4.1.
and 4.
you would
should be
only
the
have
same.
those if you have a local historic district.
Right. And it goes part and parcel.
Oh, yeah, they're redundant.
So,
So you're
So you
suggesting
could almost-
take out 414?
Yeah, you could almost get rid of 414.
that's what I'm thinking, is it's a,
Yeah, I would feel good about that.
I understand last night.
Now, when we're talking about how local, you're the expert on this, the local historic district. 'Cause I know when they wanted to make it some, and I don't know what I'm talking about, some kind of historical district,
It
and
was
the
a-
local residents said no.
right, that was 2020.
And what kind of historical district is that compared to this?
That's what we're talking
So,
about.
there are two types of districts.
That's one of my,
National
National Historic
and the
District
local.
that we're sitting in, and it's just recognition.
oh,
You
okay.
can get some tax reliefs,
Yeah,
but
I was
all it
gonna
is
say
a
you get
sign of
tips.
It's national
unity
though.
and saying this is, so you can do anything you want with your property. Local
Is more restricted.
is more
Okay.
restrictive,
That was my question.
and that's what they tried to pass through a couple of years ago, and
Yeah, and that didn't fly.
it didn't go because of the objection of a couple of property owners.
Yeah,
Within the,
Yeah.
Within the district,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. That was a big no.
I mean, it's a hard sell.
expensive.
It's a real hard sell, but I will say, if you look at Acton Center, Harvard Center, I mean, everybody loves Harvard, and there's a reason why, it's because they protect their historic, you know, properties.
How long ago was that?
Oh, a while ago,
I don't know when
10
they.
years.
When
It
we
But I mean,
tried
had
that,
to be,
I
because
was
the
about
Alfonso.
to-
Harvard
Yeah, it was
has
more than- it
two,
was
they've
more
got
than
two, the
10.
Shaker
When
Village
did Vin leave?
and the center. You know,
When
the
did
common
Vin
center.
leave? Because they were owning, they owned the house.
He left in
Yeah,
2000 and,
well, but it was first tried with vehement opposition from Gigi,
Yeah.
Bonazzoli.
But with the last time they tried it, I'm trying to get it was when Vin and Christine were here in the house on the corner of Harvard Road. So when was Vin
Did they
chief?
leave?
Oh, yeah,
But I will tell
They
you,
probably left in
15
14 or
Sometimes that
15.
fails.
yeah, he was one of the objectors,
He
and I
was
will
here for
say,
14.
their restrictions, the
Yeah.
restrictions they placed
It
were
was all
so
about how wonderful
like,
it would be, as opposed to.
easy.
Oh,
I mean,
Equity in
It
the
was, I mean, you could replace your windows, you could, they
And
weren't
that's
into
not
paint
the same
colors,
problem.
it was only.
Oh, I think they were
It
into
was
the
only,
paint.
well, their problem was they were in a
Zero
corner,
impact.
so it was only
First
the
reaction,
parts of
they're trying to do
the
it
structure
right
that were visible to the
down
road.
at the east end.
And so you didn't have two corner
The
lot
historic-
property owners that were concerned about that, because then you would be dealing
And they
with
had
two
a
sides.
Zoom last
of
night.
their-
Oh, they did.
oh, and the keeps would have been on both sides,
No,
right?
not the Cubes, it was the Schneiders.
yeah.
Okay.
And Vin.
Okay,
I just wanted to know the difference between the National Historic District and the local. And
Yeah,
that was
that's
my
it.
my
The
question.
national-
More
intent,
specific
right?
for.
Yeah, we have the national, right?
The national has no teeth.
Right,
The local
exactly.
one does,
Just
I think
regulation.
that's the point.
Yeah, it's just
Well,
recognition.
they do offer significant tax relief if you do improvements that it's approved,
Oh, do they?
yeah.
Wow.
But it has no teeth as far as, from the town's point of view,
Right.
in regulating it.
Right, exactly.
Right,
That's
what
right,
I
we can't
That's all, yeah, that's all.
Yeah. Okay,
so I would get rid of that.
all right, we'll take out 4.1.
Just because it doesn't, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yep, they need that, just take that one out.
I think you're
So-
gonna get some pushback extending the demolition bylaw from 6 to 12 months.
I think it should absolutely happen, because right now, it's just a speed bump.
Well, it's more than a speed bump.
6 months, are you kidding me?
I went through, I looked at all the towns, and actually, I mentioned Acton, and I think Acton, I don't have my notes, but there are a couple of towns that if the properties are within local historic district, then it's even a longer
Time.
time period for demolition delay. I think it's
Longer
almost
than
up
1
to
year?
24 months
Yeah,
in
I think-
Acton.
I think over 2 years, okay.
But let me just, from a developer's perspective, if you have 6 months and you think about what you're gonna do with your money, it is a much better investment to knock it over. Wait 6 months, destroy it, build something new, whatever.
Well, what about the person who comes in and buys a house and finds out they can't do anything to it for 6 months?
What?
Well,
What do you mean?
I mean, there was that
They
one
live
on,
in Florida.
on West Bear, on.
Well, I mean, that's a wait and see, because initially they wanted to tear it down.
Yeah,
But so far, they haven't done that.
But what happens is that if you're going to disassemble a house or you're gonna move a house, you're never gonna figure that out in 6 months. And having moved a lot, I can tell you, 12 months.
okay, I'm just
is
saying that you might get some
absolute
pushback, but that's okay. I'm not, I don't know
I
any,
would,
I mean,
I'm not in this game.
one of the things with that is the historical commission needs to develop the rationale for doing it, not just do it, or not just recommend it at town meeting. It's gotta be, oh, this is why we're doing it, because what's
Oh,
the
yeah.
objective? The objective is to preserve the structure, not necessarily in place. Okay, well then, how do you move it? And you've gotta do that in 6 months under the current, you're not gonna do it in 6 months. Anyway,
Anyhow, no, that's fine, I don't, as I said, I just brought it up. Onward and upward.
okay. I mean,
425, I want to compliment
425.
whoever came up with the wording. It's great. We really just need to do the bylaw, we just need to do the bylaw. Anyway, it's really well written, I don't know, did Olivia do that?
I
Did
assume.
you do that?
yeah, no, she didn't.
She did? Well, again, she should be complimented.
It
for
made
that.
Ken happy,
And the.
made Ken happy. Open
Okay,
space,
open space, let's see what I have here. More CPAs are there. Now, do we need to have a specific action on appointing a committee related to CPA? I would think not. If you're gonna repeat it
That's
several times, then have 513 the way that it is, which is the way the other ones are, of adopting it
Mhm.
to fund the acquisition of open
Take
space,
511.
period.
Yeah.
To get rid of it.
goes bye-bye,
Yeah.
gone.
Now, can we go back to 511? I mean, that is clearly part of the OSRD. I'm sorry, not OSRD, the Recreation and Open Space Plan. OSRD.
Right, right.
You just got your initials.
Oh, jeez. And there are 4.
There's so many acronyms.
It just
I don't-
But is
makes
that-
my
But
brain
is that
hurt.
bad? Or having the such as? I thought it was a little weird to put a national thing in there for maps when we have our own maps in our own plans. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I think we,
No, I
that
agree.
Why are we
last,
saying using resources such
Yeah,
as?
yeah.
Just take that part
Yeah.
out.
end it with protection.
Yeah, just take
Yeah,
it
that
out
whole part,
completely.
and just leave it as identify and prioritize future open space acquisition and protection.
If you take a look at what Rebecca has done and what she knows, she probably knows more than most of the conservancies around us.
Oh, I don't get it. That's why we have Rebecca.
I think that's why we need to keep Rebecca.
Now,
Better space,
I think
childcare.
514, I'm not sure I think it's too specific for one thing, but I don't think it's needed. If we stay with 513 to adopt CPA, you don't set aside funds anyway.
No, you
The
Yeah.
don't.
funds
Saying-
get
That's
authorized
right.
I don't think
That's
you can
right.
do that.
for a particular purpose.
First, you've gotta
And
get
so-
your
catch.
funds,
Good
because
catch.
that takes a
So I
while.
think that should be deleted personally.
All right, so that goes bye-bye, five.
Because
Well,
it's
Why don't you
presumption.
say for acquisition and enhancing the climate adaptability of open space? Because that's what we did with
You
Jaguar.
mean in 513?
Yeah, pull
Sure,
up that one
that's
part
fine,
into
that's
it.
fine.
Sure.
Okay.
It's just that 514 is the one that's the issue.
Okay,
Get rid of 514 and add that 513.
so you're just taking the enhanced climate adaptability existing
Yeah,
open
fill the
space.
climate adaptability into 513. Incidentally, there is 5 acres up in Taggart that can be used for town other activities.
Yeah, but getting to
Oh,
it
yeah,
is really
that.
expensive.
Okay, so,
It's true.
so in 515, what is protective zoning?
I have no idea.
Is it specific
Do
or
you know
just
this
saying,
Planning board?
Who's,
Yeah.
or is it?
whose task group is this?
That would be the phosphorus stuff.
Why is it in there? It doesn't make it, if we don't know what it is, how in the heck is anyone else gonna know what it is?
Well, nobody is, that's why we're,
Shall we take it out?
well, we need to understand what,
I mean,
Protect
if we
whoever
realize
put it in there had in
How,
mind.
we don't know what it is.
No, what it is, perpetual restrictions are state authorized and approved conservation restrictions.
Yeah, but that's, but this is, the wording here is utilize protective zoning. And what does that
I would just
mean?
note that
Okay, all right, so 515 goes away.
Going bye-bye.
Good.
Don't put
Okay.
phosphorus in, just delete the whole thing.
Yeah, delete the
Yeah,
whole thing.
because it's in.
All right, then, okay, then 516, what I would do is delete the first phrase so that the thing just starts with develop a plan to encourage landowners to put unprotected land under chapter 61. You don't need to say
Yeah,
locate all properties because we know where they are.
yeah,
You just go to the assessor's office
yeah,
and
it's
there's a
there.
report. There's no
Well, oh, by the
report
way, it's in
here.
the master plan.
Well,
Yeah.
There's a map with all of it.
well, oh yeah, that's true, and in the open space plan, you're
Yeah,
right.
you could just
Yeah,
start with develop,
So
right?
really, just delete that part of it, just say develop a
Yeah,
plan.
We spent hours putting that together.
I'm sure.
Hours.
I don't doubt it.
Okay, no other comments on that?
Okay, municipal services,
We're just
Um,
gonna-
are we
Do we
not?
have, I had a comment specific to 61 first right of refusal about a process, we have no process.
No, we don't.
Where's this, where are you, number are you on? Oh, it's 5.1.6?
Yeah, just, I haven't witnessed a process yet. Usually it would have to go to various towns and there's a ranking criteria used to evaluate the parcels to see if you want to just let them go or if you want to try and attempt to preserve them.
There
or-
isn't any criteria, it's just.
No.
Yeah, we don't,
It really comes to the selectmen
They
and,
make a decision.
yeah,
Yeah.
and,
I think it should go to that agricultural committee, planning board, conservation, it should go to,
Well, why don't we?
Yeah,
go with
it's
proceed?
sometimes-
well, that, yeah,
I think
that's what I wanted
sometimes
to
in the
add.
past, I think sometimes in the past it went to conservation at least.
They're required to notify conservation and planning board by
Right,
the law.
right.
Yeah,
But my experience was that if it was somebody taking a lot for their kid to put a house on out of a 30-acre 61, they never got in the way.
nobody cared.
Mhm.
And mostly people that didn't do the other, so it hardly ever came up, but it definitely needs it, and so is develop a plan include what you're talking about, Pam? Or
I mean,
do
could
wanna-
you
do
stop
wanna
at
broaden
where it
that and
says
say,
chapter 61?
Develop a plan and establish,
It says develop a plan and
Regulations.
encourage landowners to put unprotected land under chapter 61.
But you leave.
Chapter 61 doesn't protect your land, so it's kind
No. Protect your taxes.
but it,
of
but protect,
unclassified, I'll change unprotected to unclassified.
but by putting it under it, it at least gives the town a chance to be involved if it wants to.
Yes,
Okay,
but
but-
there's no process to determine if we want to or
Agreed,
not.
agreed, and that
That's
should be
what
in,
that
that
was-
should be in here somewhere if it's
Well,
not
why don't we
already.
keep it under 516?
Yeah. Yeah, we're saying prioritize parcels.
Prioritize parcels.
Yeah.
It-
Does that cover it?
No.
Prioritize.
Develop a process to rank and assess,
Okay,
right? Parcels that come out of 61A. I think you get-
and that's instead of prioritize parcels?
Yeah.
Good.
That's better. More of the point.
recreation was extremely light.
Yeah, I agree. I was surprised that it was so light. Because actually, there ought to be a goal for establishing additional parks and recreation areas, because they're different from open space that's under conservation. We went through this when we tried to buy Camp Virginia, that there was a list of open spaces and what you can do with them, and then there's a list of parks and recreational things and what you can do with those. And they're different, and so I would think that there ought to be more there.
Well, I mean, it's
Can
two
we
parts.
add, can we add one at this point? Can we add a goal at
Sure.
this point?
Sure, 5.2.3.
Well-
There are two parts to it though, Ken. One is, I don't think we've ever actually figured out what we actually are going to need in the future. And then figure out where it might be and develop a plan to get from now to there. So can we summarize that in a sentence?
What's the sentence?
Yeah, but it ought to be, because the way goal 5.2 is written, it doesn't talk about acquiring anything, it says just improve the access to it, so.
No.
So we should really do a new goal,
Expanded.
a 5.3.
What would you want to say, expand?
I would think so.
Evaluate it.
Expand the town, either expand the town's parks and recreation areas, or
Evaluate the need for and expand.
yeah, evaluate the need for and expand.
Now, I would have a couple of actions underneath that. One of which is to determine the potential location and development requirements for land to meet recreational needs. And secondly, one of the things that really sticks with me is we have all sorts of school recreational facilities that are not used like 80% of the time. They're used for
Right.
gym classes and, various after-school sports, but the town has no access to.
Right.
Which
And-
one?
And that was a point that was made in 2017 about that.
Fields, tennis courts.
But that's not necessarily true, because I used to go down and walk the track when the school was in place.
Yeah, but you can't have any organized town sports.
And,
in
Oh, to
collaboration.
organize town.
and you
okay.
can't
Oh, I
have,
saw, okay.
and you can't have access to an elementary school playground in the daytime.
Right.
Right.
So if you want to take your grandchildren who are under school age, you can't.
You can't, well, yeah.
Because
but
school's in
others-
session.
Well, we don't have any
What
playgrounds.
I would also like to have is the permission of Sawyer Emerson School for people to access their properties, to use the trails, going from Memorial Field all the way across to, say, the.
But do you need that permission for trails?
Hmm?
Do you need that permission for trails? I mean, I certainly have
I-
done that
I-
before, many times.
I don't know, somebody
think
recalled
anything's
being
spec-
asked to leave the property during school hours,
Were you?
when, not me, but
People
somebody
have
said,
that.
when we were working on the mobility report, we contacted, I think it was, Concord or Lexington, that has conservation trails that connect through the schools. And that the schools were fine with people being able to walk through school property to connect to conservation
Yeah,
land.
I think that.
And I think that, I walk my dog, and I will only do it during, when the school is not in session, because I'm not going to attempt walking across Somerset property when school's in session.
I
think you can do that, but.
I've never
but-
known anyone
but
to be
put
told
that-
not to.
Put
but-
that in 5.2.2 and simply say to residential areas, educational and recreational facilities.
Yeah, I would do that.
And then you've got it covered.
And
But
I
we're
would
in a
also
different-
like to see all those cart path trails back there enhanced. There's so many opportunities back there to get from 626 to the lacrosse field, to the schools, to, I mean, it's,
We had this discussion 2 years ago about our focused area assessment, and we actually have half a dozen maps. And the Trails Committee, with actually primarily the Trails Committee, has figured out the trails at least running down the town land to the west of 495 and then going across and back through the old sheep field and the common gardens and all the rest of that. And there's no reason at all that we can't use that approach, since we know the ownership, we know the land, we know the wetlands, we know all the limitations. We need to probably talk to Joel Bates, since he gets kind of upset.
Now,
Get near this, well, he does,
you know,
and he's pretty concerned about that, but if we figure out where they can go, rather than across the rickety bridge,
Woods,
by Sawyer. which
no
they
one should go across anyhow.
Anyway, but,
There used
Let's
to be
have- let's put that in a
accessibility
sentence,
there,
right?
to 626.
and adding educational locations.
Let me make a suggestion here for this goal. In fact, I'd be willing to take this on. We talked to Ed Sterling, because he's Mr. Recreation.
I
Yeah.
was thinking.
And he
the same
knows
thing.
what he's talking about, and if he were here, he would have all of the, he could lay out all the actions to go with that goal.
Yeah,
So why don't I get with him
Yeah.
and we get
then
back
just
to
get
you
the town.
with
You, Ken, one other
with
thing that popped up in my head was, and I don't know how it would apply here, except to say that something about I know the soccer fields and the parking, and that maybe there's a more general way to put it, but that's a very specific problem that I know Parks and Rec has been trying to address with the overflow parking and such. So if, while you're talking to Ed, 'cause I know he's intimately
Well,
involved with some
and then-
potential solutions there.
Pushing collaboration with Scout Camp. And we don't have to say bye, we need to say collaborate, and we are already.
Yeah, that's happening.
I know, the challenge, this is my first time doing one of these, and the challenge is like, you know, all these things that are already starting to happen, you're like, but do you put them in here, or do you assume
Yeah.
there are, you know, are they gonna pass in
Well,
time?
no, but you can go the next step. Right now, is
Yeah.
the town's paying a pretty penny
Yeah.
to the Boy Scouts in order to use it next summer,
Mhm.
because this summer was a disaster on the town common. And when there was any thunder or lightning, can you imagine putting everybody on the town common in this building, which is what they did?
Oh,
It was a
wow.
total disaster.
Goodness.
When they saw the Boy Scout camp, they said, you know, we'll pay for it.
Mhm.
We'll pay $25 a kid per day,
Got it.
whatever they finally negotiated. But that kind of collaboration
Yeah, it's great.
is a win-win situation
Yeah,
for the
no
scouts and
question.
for the town.
And, you know,
So,
Yep,
it
that's
gets
nice.
us more embedded into the camp.
Yeah, and so maybe we would want to put an action in this expanding recreational areas in collaboration
Mhm.
with Boy Scouts.
I would do that.
And since Ed's involved with them too.
Yeah, that's what I was like, it's a
It'd be easy to
double.
do that. So I'll
Yeah,
work
he's-
with Ed on
right.
that, if you like.
Yeah,
And oh, by the way, they talked to Rebecca about getting a conservation restriction on their property.
I heard they want
That would
to
be
interested
awesome.
in that, that's really great.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, but they want
A few $1 million for it.
Yeah, so,
so, money,
Oh, there's that. Yeah.
minor, minor.
I think they would just buy it.
Well,
If we're
yeah,
gonna pay that kind of money to restrict development, just go buy it. With a conservation restriction on it. Which would make it pretty
okay,
worthless.
on to
Okay.
municipal
Yes,
services.
anyway.
Okay,
Okay, couple of things
Where are we?
on municipal services. I think 6.1.2 should be 6.1.1. That's number one, I think this is back as forth. And 6.1.2 should be appoint a committee to conduct a space planning study to assess the need for complete renovation, comma, expansion, comma, and/or relocation of the town hall and DPW complex.
That's, I think that's
Yeah,
fine.
because I thought you were ditching
Do
the
you have that
town
written
hall.
down?
that's fine.
Is
That's
that, are
fine.
you, everybody happy with that?
That's fine.
Do you wanna read it out slowly?
Okay, appoint a committee to conduct a planning study to assess the need for a complete renovation, comma, expansion, comma, or relocation of town hall and DPW complex.
Now, if you do that, then you have to figure out what you're gonna do with the building once you vacate it.
Well, let me deal with DPW.
Multi-purpose
Let me deal with the DPW first. The DPW cannot, the land they have cannot be expanded, they can't expand the well, blah, 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 blah. So, but we own land behind the dump,
Right.
so the DPW can go there. And the money they can get can pay for the new complex, or towards it. As for the town hall,
Put a business overlay district over the current DPW land?
oh, no, just sell it. The guy behind next to them will buy it.
And what?
Oh, God, yes, you sell the land the DPW's on. It's worth a
Oh,
fortune.
yeah, absolutely, I mean,
It's
that,
worth a fortune, absolutely. That's how we pay for the new
I
DPW.
mean, that's all part of your
Yeah.
commercial.
I should know this, is that zone limited business?
Anyhow, I would reverse the two, because I think you want to talk to your employees first before you appoint a committee. Or have one that become part of the committee responsible.
In 621, if you're okay with moving down.
Yeah, I am.
I added of a community gathering space after the word implementation because
Hold on. Organize committee to potential locations, conduct planning, coordinate financing, oversee implementation of community.
Facilities and
of a
integrated-
community gathering space,
Oh, I
because it
see.
doesn't say. It maybe is implied, but it doesn't say, and I
That's
thought it would be better to have that in it.
Okay.
I mean,
I don't know where we got, I mean, it's not that we would turn it down,
Can we
but.
just go back and make sure that we're okay with 611 and 12?
I didn't get the wording for 612. Appointed committee.
612,
Get
we
rid of
left it.
and, right? No, we didn't.
We turned 612 into 611,
Yeah.
and we turned 6.1.2 into the one I read off.
So
To
we
assess the
also-
need for the
You
renovation.
want me to read that again?
Just from complete renovation.
Okay,
Comma, expansion.
hold on. Appointed committee can get the space plan study, assess the need for a complete renovation, comma, expansion, comma, and/or relocation of town hall and DPW complex. And then 6.2.1, we're just Ken wants to oversee implementation of community gathering space. That's fine. 6.2.3.
yeah, that,
I don't think that's appropriate for that space. I mean, I'll take the people, but, you know, we can always use them, but somehow this talks about new staffing, and we don't talk about it in any other
mhm.
group, and I think we're sort of putting apples with
Well, not
oranges.
only that,
What was it?
6.2.3, support additional staffing.
it would only work if you had a new center. I mean,
Well, a bigger
the
space.
facility that exists right now.
You can't do anymore.
You can't do it, and to be perfectly honest, they do a fabulous job right now with programming.
I agree, with what they've got, they do
So
really
it's
well, but
not-
you're limited by the
It's- Yeah,
space.
you're limited, so that,
And could we use other staff to do other things? Absolutely, but this is the only place in this whole thing we talk about more
I mean-
more staffing for a
but you
department.
know, the whole
So
thing with this
eliminate the whole
community
thing?
center.
I would,
Yeah.
I mean,
That's fine.
Somebody-
Yeah, I agree.
my director may kick me tomorrow, but,
But I think that the whole community center idea is, I understand we have to do intergenerational, but I think there needs to be something in there about how there is really a need for a place for the seniors.
but I
That's
think
one pager, Mary.
that's gonna be included.
I know it's included, but it's not, you're not,
Well, otherwise, you know, I could just, now, I'm head of the COA, so I could defend that. But I can also defend the need for the kids, after-school kids
no,
and
I
the
know, I'm
preschool
not
kids.
arguing that you need two separate facilities.
No, no,
I'm
no.
just saying somehow you need to point out that, you know, the seniors really have no space right now. I
Well-
mean, the space they have is,
No, we're all
Too
aware of this
small.
space, but I'm
So-
saying if
so
you
we
have a
should-
community
and I
center,
will
you're gonna
say,
put Parks
Add-
and Rec and the COA in that building. The offices are gonna be in that building. You're gonna move the offices for
So-
Parks and Rec, and so they will run the community center.
So why don't you add a sentence to the municipal services one pager that addresses what she said about the need for seniors, that we're constricted to one place that we don't even own.
But
That's
I
a
think
good place,
days
that's a
through
good
Parks
place to
and
put
Rec,
it.
I think that's true of
That's,
a lot.
that's one of the
All I'm
existing
saying is that
conditions.
I think that that's fine for the seniors, I'm the first one to say
I
it.
know, but
But it's
that's,
also true of Parks and Rec, of anyone who uses that facility. It's also true of more other groups, and so I think
well,
by
then
picking up,
look at that one pager and make sure that it covers those things as well. But that would address what Mary's talking about.
Because
No, I know.
seriously, right now, we need a senior center. I mean, the kids are getting plenty of places where they can,
but they don't, that's the point, is they don't have plenty of
but
places.
I do understand that in
They don't.
today's,
They don't even
They
have
don't
a
have a
playground
place.
that they can use.
They're-
Okay, can we, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, Pam,
I haven't heard of too many community centers that span the demographics that you're speaking of. There's always kind of pushback that those people, like the different uses can't coincide with each other.
But they can, though.
But
and it's
Stowe does it.
intergenerational.
Who
In
does
Humboldt, Stowe,
Stowe has a,
like, there's
Well,
the community center there, and there's the
Yeah.
fire
Yeah.
with the
station.
senior center.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the city school.
And you know, the seniors tend to use the mornings. The littlies can use the same space, you know, the space is gonna be big enough for more than one group. And in the afternoon, the kids after, I remember when I was a selectman, and one guy said, if you do nothing else, find something for my place for my kids to go do something after school. Because once they get past third grade, what the kids are offered for kids who don't have parents to come home to is really crap.
Mhm.
So they need a place for that. And then the older kids, when they get out of high school, they have a place to go study and to do other studies in the evenings. And so you could have more than one program going in a community center.
I do, to your point though, Pam, the younger kids, there's a lot of regulations around it, so it's not like you would have a daycare going in or something.
No.
Like certain age groups wouldn't, like the very younger, but that middle.
But a playgroup
grounds.
for littlies, you could have. An
So,
organized
yeah, if
playgroup.
it's not like EEC approved or whatever, like
Yeah.
you could certainly have a private group go in there
Or you could have it put it
With
under Parks and
waivers.
Rec.
see, my only
Yeah.
beef
No,
with
I-
all of this is whatever you have for a facility that you're bringing in children and all, you need staff. You can't have a community center and say, okay, use it. You can't
Yeah, of
have,
course you could have
you
no
need
staff.
staff.
Yeah, of course.
Senior center has council on aging is there, and so you've got a staff already in
Well, Parks and
place.
Rec will have a staff there.
But they would have to monitor. It's kind of like the library, when they built a second floor, they needed to have somebody on the second floor.
That's true.
I think we're getting into the minutia.
No, but
Yeah,
But we
they
don't
just look
need-
into it and figure it
I
out.
think, I think we
Yeah, for the
should,
sake
you
of
know,
tonight, but
well,
I
I'll
think
put
it's a good
something
point.
in
And
We-
about the
Yeah.
seniors, but I
Yeah.
think
The,
it's,
the
No.
the action, the
the
action
need
is
needs to be
to,
there.
is to try to work all that out, and part of working it out would be staffing.
Yeah.
And we don't need to.
yeah, we're not in
Listen,
charge
That's
of
it.
doing that.
Well, it's just cha-ching, cha-ching for me.
I wrote a program plan years ago for this.
Oh, did
I'll
you?
send it to you.
Yes, he did.
All right.
Yeah. This isn't brain surgery, this has been
Well,
done
no,
before.
it is brain surgery, you just gotta find the brain.
Good.
Well, no, we know where the brains are.
Very minor, 641 for me.
641,
Oh, wow, you really
Um,
went ahead.
In the last, it says 2018 plan, I would simply say the above 2018 ADA plan, because it wasn't at all clear what.
and the
that you-
above,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
just
in
which
other words,
plan
in the
is it?
goal, it mentions the plan,
yeah,
but in the action, it
Mhm.
doesn't, and so it's just to clarify.
no, that makes sense.
And that's all that I have in the municipals.
Oh, I know, on 6.3.5, updated hazard mitigation plan. The bids are due on January 24th for the rewrite on the hazard mitigation plan.
So that will be updated.
That will be updated, so I don't think we need to update it by the time this
Well,
comes
put-
around, so we
Put
should.
something in about
review the
Investigate-
updated,
Investigate implementation of recommendations in, or something like that.
that's fine. I just wanted you to know that it's getting done.
Where were you? I'm sorry.
6.3.5. So instead of update, we need to change the word, because it's gonna
Is
say.
it going to include updated information on climate related factors?
I assume so.
But just a minute. It does include
Yeah, well, I haven't seen it, so
Oh,
I don't
sorry.
remember it. And there, as I said, the bids are due for it
Right,
on
okay.
the 24th, so I didn't go any farther. I probably have a copy of it on my table.
What am I doing?
We're gonna remove the word update and maybe put review,
Implement?
implement the hazard mitigation, I don't know. What's the word you want, guys? We don't want update, because it'll be updated.
But just a minute, it does currently include updated information on climate-related factors.
Uh,
So the
The
question,
MVP does as well,
so the action really
is
is
to implement it.
to implement. Either to implement the recommendations or to prioritize the recommendations or something like that.
I think implement recommendations.
And that's, I mean, and that to me is something that somehow we've got to figure out in the implementation matrix, how it gets its arms around all those other reports that have been written in town that recommend certain things. This is just one of them.
Bumper decided to dump 6 on me. I was gonna bring it to you. I thought about
I'm running this foundation in New York at a time.
it. Okay,
Where are we?
transportation? 7.1.2.
Yeah, so 7.1.2,
Is being
so
done.
right now, the Rotary is going to have,
Roundabout, I think it's called now.
what?
I think it's a roundabout.
Roundabout.
Yes, I
I
did.
know, I did the same, I was like, oh.
There's going to be
Go back
two
and hand it in.
crosswalks. There's going
Alright.
to be one along Main Street by the high school. There'll be a pedestrian island in the middle, and then a crosswalk, then the crosswalk continues. There'll also be a crosswalk
On the other
across
side.
Forbush.
Yeah.
They're putting a
So-
crosswalk through the roundabout?
No, on this end of it.
Oh, right.
Well, it's the roundabout
It's
is
pretty
not
wide.
round. It's sort of like this and goes like this. So on the skinnier parts, the crosswalks will go across, but the roundabout is sort of oval. You know what, see, it sort of goes like this and like that, and extends down 117 downhill.
Go to the DPW website and you
Yeah.
can look at the.
My greatest hope that it'll piss
So-
off
Well,
the
So
semi.
there is going to
You wanna
be,
say implement
I mean,
that?
that's about as good as.
No,
you
I
can
think
get there.
it's gonna be done. By the time this comes out, it'll be done. I would take the whole thing out.
So I
I
would
would
get
remove
rid
the
of
whole
that.
thing.
So 714,
Yes.
radar monitoring check, so exactly.
What is that?
Yeah.
Does
how
anybody
it's-
know what it is?
How is that going to slow people down? Who's going,
Well, in some places they have signs that tell you how
right,
fast
your
you're going.
speed,
And
that-
it does
that's
work.
that supposedly
Right.
slows you down.
It
That's what
does.
they're talking about.
Slows me
They're
down.
talking about having those things in more places than just the two
On
spots they are
117.
on 117.
right, I like,
There's one in Acton when you come out of Stowe, going into South Acton.
well, we've got
There's
them
one of
all up
those.
and down, we've got 4 of them on Main Street.
Right, but you don't have them on side roads, but
Well,
they do have them on side roads in
there are a
other
few.
places, is what I'm saying.
there's, but I would like to see, traffic calming. Unfortunately, Chief Nelson's leaving, but he really wants a,
He's
speed
leaving?
bump
Bumper.
on Long Hill
Bumpers
Road.
retired.
On
In
Long Hill
June.
Road. And we would support him on that, and we did look into, we talked to Berlin about the one at Gates Pond Road and if there were any issues there. And DPW did not have issues
Where is
with
this?
plows
I'm
or
sorry.
anything like that.
Where?
Gates Pond Road in Berlin.
Yeah.
They've got two of them, because it's a cut-through road now where you've got Highland Commons and 62.
And where would you put it?
I don't know where you'd put it, but Long Hill has the right speeds that could accommodate them. Because you can't put in these speed humps in areas that are over 30 miles an hour. And there are a couple of places in Long Hill that have
Where
20
people do 55
and
on
30
the
miles.
top of
I will say that there is a,
it. Little sign,
there is a speed
monitoring. radio system.
monitoring light, not light, but device on
Flashing
Long
stuff.
Hill Road. And if you saw the data from it, it would make your hair stand on end. I mean, in a 20-mile-an-hour zone, they're over 90% of the cars are going
Well, that's
well
only
over the
just
speed
before you
limit.
get down to the,
So-
Oh, digest.
that's
Oh,
only
yeah,
just
I
before you
mean,
get to the stop sign,
yeah.
right?
Okay, so can we generalize that and simply say,
So
Traffic
traffic
calming
calming, you know,
technology.
I don't know, do you look into investigate traffic calming
on back
on the
roads?
side roads?
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so let's do that.
Can I ask a question?
Which is that
So
just a
we adding-
general?
are we adding action or are we adding it?
7.4,
23714.
you could just add it to 7.14.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I would, yes, just add traffic calming.
7.13, we took it, this is recommending a hire, a full-time traffic enforcement.
We need, yeah, he needs.
I know he needs it, but the thing is, we haven't done it, we haven't addressed personnel issues anywhere else. I mean, either we address personnel issues in all departments, or we do it for none, I think. You can't do half and half,
I agree.
because every department has their needs.
The only thing is enforcement will help to,
I agree,
Right,
but,
Oh, yeah, I
but you
totally
see-
agree with you, Mary.
But you see Patty's point though, right?
you know, yeah.
The consistency needs to be there.
yeah, so either we do it for all, or we don't do it at all, I would think. So I would say take it out, unless we're gonna go back and put it in for other departments.
Has Massachusetts started any kind of,
So, in the 7.2, CPA money can now be used for sidewalk, bike lane connections or whatever, so that you can use CP money. I'm not saying that, you know, if you wanna fix a sidewalk in the town center, you can use CPA money, or you might be able to if you can, prove a connection to trails and that sort of thing.
well, Complete Streets allows that too, doesn't it?
And then you've got complete streets too, which,
The problem that I have is I'm sorry, you're talking about 722?
just 7.2, yeah. Where you've got the network of sidewalks, walkways, bike lanes,
Oh, yeah, okay.
anything
Right.
where you can,
But that's just, so that's good to know that, let's put that in the CPA one pager. Can you send me a note about that? Because it's not something I'm aware of. We can put that in there. 721 though, I guess I wouldn't word it that way. I would say performing and enhancing sidewalk maintenance and construction, rather than establish funding source for,
we don't maintain our sidewalks.
well, but we should.
And
So
other
shouldn't that be
towns,
the action?
other towns do have budgets put aside for
Right,
sidewalk
but
maintenance.
the budget is a derivative of the action. The action is to improve.
Sidewalks.
So
Yeah,
just
maintain
say
sidewalks,
Is to
isn't that what
maintain-
we're
is to
saying?
maintain
sidewalks.
I
and
think
enhance sidewalks,
Yeah,
Right.
just say
and not
Establish
establish
sidewalks.
funding for.
Have, establish a
Define.
mechanism to establish sidewalk, to
Yep.
maintain sidewalks.
Yeah,
Right.
that makes more
Right.
sense.
That covers personnel.
Is this a new one?
No,
Yeah,
we're
we'll
doing it
replace the
7.2.1.
Yeah, above it,
Yeah, 7.2.1.
just establish a mechanism. And let's be nice and say to enhance sidewalk maintenance, even though there isn't any.
But you could also say, construction, because elsewhere, we talk about the need for more sidewalks and more walkways and things like that, so make it part of the mechanism.
Well, a lot of these actions are to extend or expand or,
Right.
so.
Yeah, I like 723, establish crosswalks and pedestrian controls at current and future traffic lights. Thank you for that one.
We don't have a lot of them.
No, but the ones we have, I'm like waiting for somebody to get hit down at Golden Orchards. I have seen more close calls down there.
Well, that intersection is.
That's the one place we killed
Believe me,
somebody.
you don't want a crosswalk there and you don't want pedestrian, you want that whole thing to be
Yep,
redesigned.
yep.
Which one?
117 and 110.
That's your,
Oh,
That would be a good.
that has the highest
It's the only place
incident of
we've killed somebody.
right,
accidents. is
right,
on
but,
10.
you know, it's weird in a way, but
Yeah.
I know it is.
It
The
comes
more
with
roundabouts,
exceptional
the more they
challenges.
piss off the trucks.
Yeah, I'm just checking to see if that's in here at all.
If you look at what happened with the roundabout at the intersection of 70 and Route 2,
Mhm.
it slowed everything down.
Yeah,
People became sane.
yeah, well,
Of course, there was some.
I'm not sure I'd go that far, but.
Okay,
I
go
love
ahead.
roundabouts.
Under 7.4.2, there is no capital planning committee.
Right.
When did that dissolve?
Oh, years ago.
Don took it over, he fired them all.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I
Put them
think
on
it's
planning.
It's just done, it's done by staff.
no,
Okay.
it's done by
Got
Don.
it.
And by, well,
John,
Develop.
Yeah, just put development capital improvement plan.
Yeah, that's interesting because with a new, that's a
Well,
big,
it had sort of dribbled down, I have to admit, I was on the first one, and it dribbled down, and then Don just took it over. It's not the staff that does it, Don.
Now, have you guys talked to Randy with these,
About what?
well, this implementation plan?
No, we haven't talked to
At
that
the last meeting,
Implementation, what
we're
we're,
talking
Yes.
about meeting with department heads
Yeah.
at
yeah.
the end of the month.
No, I've just been talking to all my department heads. I've seen Bumper, I've seen Jeff, I see Randy all the time.
Okay.
So,
So,
I've shown him all this.
They haven't seen this in this.
Not, they haven't seen this one, but Randy has seen this one,
right, so I did ask at the last meeting
yeah.
if I should show these to Randy, and I think Tam, you said no,
Yeah,
that
we
you
wanted
would
to
be
do this
meeting, so
first.
I'm
Yeah,
asking.
but I needed to
have
find out
you-
what was going on.
Have you met with
Mhm.
Randy yet to discuss?
Not officially.
Okay.
Not officially,
Okay.
I was down because I
So-
just wanted, some of this I knew wasn't right,
so look,
so I went down and talked to
so the
Randy.
one right after that, 743,
Yeah.
what is gray infrastructure?
Oh, I asked that question and Barry looked it up. Gray infrastructure is the
On sewage, wastewater.
on sewage wastewater that goes with
All right, well
sidewalks
then
and roads.
well, that needs to be
Right.
explained, because I have no idea what
Gray
I
water?
was talking,
Really?
no.
In
it
England,
doesn't
it's
say that. It
GREY.
doesn't say that. It says, identify opportunities to seek funding for natural-based solutions to replace aging gray infrastructure.
Well, it should mean it, maybe
Now,
we
if you
should
said
say,
gray water, I would have understood it.
well, maybe we
but
should
gray
aging
infrastructure-
drainage system.
And to
I was
your
thinking-
point,
I was
people are
thinking
coming in that
of,
don't
I was
know what's
thinking
up.
of, okay, that means that as the pavement that you make lightens, it's gray.
No,
Because this is in the transportation, it's
We're
roadway.
talking about
I thought it
culverts
was
here?
concrete.
it's a drainage system, or a gray area, it's a drainage, so you replace
Exactly.
aging drainage
Okay,
system
so-
infrastructure.
All right, so say drainage, then say drainage.
Yeah, that's what I thought, and in England it's GREY.
It doesn't matter. Just change
All the
it.
Brits, they'll
The
never.
Brits, well, you know, it's you guys that mess, you know.
Okay, so we're changing gray to drainage infrastructure, okay.
Yeah, and the minimized salt brine, well, there, I'm not going there, because,
You don't even have to say system.
yeah. Randy is a big believer in using salt brine rather than sand, because there's just less damage to the environment, and I'm not getting in the middle of that one.
Well,
He
but
can
they've
come.
gotta get better ways to disperse it, because, you know, the storm a week or two ago on Corn Road, there was just a pile,
Sand.
pile of salt right in the middle of the roadway, so it's not getting dispersed evenly.
Well, you should show that to him, or mention it to him. Because I gotta tell you, I drove through Harvard,
You know, that's a really, I hadn't even
Randy's
thought
roads
about
were so much better. Both roads were 90% and
I
others.
think our roads are good, I mean, but if somebody wants to drive around in the middle of a snowstorm and complain about the roads, that's their problem.
Yeah, I mean, we were so ahead of Stowe and Harvard. Harvard's were
And
snow
actually,
covered.
Harvard's done a great
Public
job.
opinion was that it was, that they were doing a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think they do a really good job,
However,
yes.
All right,
as
water.
chair of the Conservation Commission, and you
Yeah.
probably remember this, Ken, we did a detailed study at multiple seasons of the sodium chloride in Great Brook, and it was horrifying.
Yeah, it was really
It
high.
actually drove up the salt in my well. It was shocking.
Is it as
was
high
so-
now?
Better now?
Wow.
Is it better now? Because he uses a whole lot less.
No, it's,
But
yeah,
I-
it's better, but again, that was a real honest to goodness EPA sanctioned detailed study, and we've never done one comparing it, so.
Isn't it supposed to be better than sand though? If
Well,
done
sand,
correctly?
apparently, according to Randy, sand just gets clogs up the wetlands and does more damage.
And Rebecca supposedly agrees with that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm not gonna argue
but
with
it's just a matter of getting a better way of
saying it.
dispersing it.
I brought,
Yeah, well, you should mention him about that spot. Because maybe the guys were turned around and fell asleep or
but
something.
I do think one of the things that we never ever look at is the surface water in this town. I mean, we look at sub-sewage disposal, we look at wells, we look at all sorts of, and if kids swim in it, yeah, at Bower Springs, we look at it there, but in terms of Great Brook, you don't have a clue unless I go talk to the Board of Health and say, guys, run a bunch of samples, but they only look at coliform, you know, so, PFAS and,
Or maybe that should be in here.
I think we should.
Well, what, you want
Where would we put that?
8.1.4? Water and sewer? You want it under water and sewer?
No.
We charge.
Preserve wells as the
No,
primary
because-
source for
Water
water.
resources, well,
You just mean water quality in general, surface water quality.
Surface water quality.
Yeah. Well, what would
But
you
that
say?
really doesn't fit under water and sewer.
Natural resources.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Natural
Yes,
resources?
natural,
I'll have to dig out that study. I was really shocked.
it's under natural.
natural, cultural, and historical.
Natural,
resources.
yeah,
What's it under?
cultural and historical is,
Oh, okay.
for,
4 point,
yeah.
whatever.
Or like 4.2.6.
So what do you want to say under that,
Mhm.
Robert?
I'm sorry, where are we?
4.2.6.
2.6.
426?
Yeah, it doesn't
It's
exist.
gonna be
Robert's
new.
about to
Okay,
spit
so-
it out.
Develop a testing program, a monitoring program, that's good,
Monitoring
yeah. For
for surface water?
surface water in Bolton. Just leave it at that.
Yep.
There are bits and pieces of it now. I mean,
And what are we developing?
A monitoring program
Monitoring.
for surface water in Bolton.
surface water quality.
Okay. Back to
But I
water
got-
and
I
sewer.
got- It's, a week ago, as a result of people hearing about this, I got an email from good old Pat. and
Oh.
says- But however,
You didn't forward it on to me.
I didn't, and
That was kind of you,
I
just keep it.
stopped it, right? But it was a good point, and she said exactly that. Hey, we look at wells, we look at septic systems, but the net metric is our surface water, and nobody ever looks at it.
Yeah.
No, she's,
And she's very concerned about what's behind her.
and I don't blame her,
Well, it's better than it was.
but I'm glad she's emailing him instead of the
Who
selectman.
are you talking
She,
Pat Benson.
Well, she-
about? Oh, yeah, I
She
mean,
also
she
puts
sees
it,
it
she also
all.
puts
He
it
knows
on,
us all.
she also puts it on the,
Yes.
I
the
do
community
one.
Facebook page, yeah, that
Yeah.
as well.
But let her keep emailing you.
So are we into water and sewer now?
We're into water and sewer.
Okay, I would suggest that goal 2 of preserving wells be goal 1. And then identify and secure sites for community water source be goal 2. Because if you do a good job of preserving the wells as primary source, then you don't have to worry as much about the other one.
He has a point.
And so,
Do you
it's
want
just a
those
matter
to
of flipping
switch?
them around.
Yeah.
The content, I have no problem with either one. It's just the orientation seems to me to be off.
No, I think you're right.
You know what the DEP's perspective on that is? Get rid of your residential wells right now and have a community well, because nobody is gonna allow monitoring of their well unless we have a huge program to do it.
Mhm.
And if you have community public water supplies, we will make sure that you have good water.
But can't you make a requirement that once every 5 years, everybody has to have their well
Well, they're
tested?
talking about doing that.
You know, that doesn't seem, like put the onus on the owner.
Kate Hogan's talking about PFAS requirements and.
Well, with the PFAS, yeah.
You know, we
And-
get,
And by the way, things that people don't look at, if you go look on the web for Massachusetts PFAS monitoring, you will discover that the statistics for Bolton are included in a number of wells that have PFAS in them. We don't have many, but we do have them.
I know, Aquatic has a couple
has a couple of what?
wells
PFAS.
with PFAS, maybe?
And I wouldn't be surprised if it was because they put out car fires.
Hmm.
But it's overshadowed by the arsenic on
I
it.
mean, you need industry to create PFAS,
Yeah,
so, I mean, I wouldn't think Bolton would have a lot.
Yeah, but if, again, fire departments are the biggest problem in rural towns.
Okay.
So if you find a place where there's been a serious car fire with an exploding tank or something like that, there's a huge amount of retardant put on it. And that gets in the worst. And the levels are at about the level of detectability, it's parts per billion, very small. Okay,
Are we on to climate change?
I didn't have anything else on.
I didn't.
but- And I already mentioned my climate change.
how about on a smaller scale?
The-
Was that?
Up one, to the bottom, go up to the last one on, okay. Treatment on a smaller scale.
Sure.
Sorry,
I don't know, something weird.
that was
What
reading.
is that box
I
called?
don't know.
I don't know, it's if you have a ground.
Oh, you're in a mode that is, it's like editing.
Oh,
It's an
Go
editing
back
box.
and kill the edit mode.
I don't know if you wanna kill it before you finish editing.
Oh, you
No,
can do
Or
it.
just hit like a
So I
check mark
mentioned-
sometimes, you can see
so I
like, yes, I
mentioned
wanna do
moving-
that.
I mentioned moving 952 and 946 that are both about phosphorus
Yeah,
up to the
9,
phosphid area.
yeah, I did that.
yeah, we've already moved those.
But I think otherwise, I think the climate things are okay, and that, or if there's a one pager that needs to have
Climate.
the thing that says we need, that this may cost money, needs to be
May.
on that one.
You wanna write that one, Ken?
Yeah,
I didn't say that.
oh, you just did. You sound like
You
the
write well,
ultimate authority in this particular area.
and you write well.
Well, I've already volunteered to work the thing out with Ed,
So
and
you
to
do
write
in the
the one,
minutes,
and to
yeah.
write the one on, whatever the other one was.
But we don't want you bored.
Hey,
I'm
you know,
definitely
okay.
not bored, man.
Oh, you're telling
What was I
No,
gonna write
I mean,
about? Phosphorus?
I get a hold of Rebecca.
Oh, and have her
So-
a one page,
Yeah.
What was the
would
one I was
Rebecca
gonna
write a
write
one
about?
pager?
Well, I mean, we can cut and paste out of the stuff.
What was the
The
one I was gonna
CPA?
write it on? Oh, on CPA, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, so.
no, I think
so if I
Rebecca's
was
a
gonna
good
write
idea,
it-
I mean,
if I was
she's the
gonna-
one
yeah,
who came up with
have
this.
Rebecca write it on climate.
Huh?
She is so.
Either have Rebecca or
Well,
Sharon
if
write it
she's-
on climate.
Oh, Sharon. Passionate.
No,
Thank you
I'm-
for that input. Ken.
I smiled.
He
when
thinks
I
he's
said
funny,
it.
look at him, he's turning pink, he thinks he's so funny.
You haven't, tell Sharon,
With who?
Sharon.
I I don't know who Sheila was.
Just keep it
Good
that
for
way.
you. That's better.
Yeah, better keep it that way.
PhD climate person.
Yeah, she's very well intentioned. Got a good heart.
Other people will do
She
She'll put
has
it on
the
my
best
gravestone.
heart, she really does.
She does have a good heart.
She
has a
Absolutely.
terrific
is a good
She has a
human.
good heart, just,
All right.
are we done?
We
I
are.
think so.
Are we finished? Sehr gut.
Then there's
it. I mean, the whole
next
climate stuff that
Yeah. I mean,
the
that's
groups have
Rebecca's
done,
bailiwick,
just
but
an
if she,
amazing job.
if she's overwhelmed, we gotta find someone else to write it. She can't ask for it.
But no, I'll talk to her. You know, I can pull it out of the Apple Country report and the Devon's report and the Clinton report.
So he's gonna write it.
You know,
Yeah, it sounds like.
Yeah, he's writing, Robert's writing it. See, Ken? You just have to turn
But
it
then,
around.
Roma got seconding.
Okay.
I know, bedtime.
So can we put off the last two items until the next meeting?
What are the last two items?
Next steps of update the timeline for completing in June. Sorry for the laughter, and.
We have to,
And the public
don't have a
outreach and
choice.
engagement.
that's our contract, right?
Yeah, it's our grant, the grant funds have require completion by June 15th.
Yep, so we're gonna make it happen, which is good.
So what do we have to do to make it happen?
Well, we have to get this back in, then this has to be reviewed. And then I'm waiting for, you know, theoretically, this comes after the forward-looking narrative. And it's been kind of inverted, which is good. I mean, now we have all the things that we know we've got to do. And then out of that, they're gonna back the 10-page write-up of how we got to where we are, which is the implementation. I think it's gonna make it much simpler.
So, and do we have an agreed upon existing conditions? Did that ever get reviewed by everyone?
I certainly reviewed it.
Yeah, I think all the comments were incorporated. I can send it around again if you want to take a look. I don't think an official vote was taken, but.
You probably don't want to send it to me, because I don't think I put comments on it.
Ken and I disagree completely.
That's right.
It was 30 pages long, and I thought it was 25 pages too long. And it should be an appendix.
All right. Well, what's your meeting, sir? So, is the next thing to decide when we meet again and then review all this stuff again, or are there other assignments in between?
No, I think we need to meet. We need to get this stuff into BSC. If you can talk to them about what their plan is to get the narrative done.
I want to make a suggestion about public outreach, because I think I mentioned it before, that not a lot of has gone out about what's going on with the master plan to the public. And if you've got a deadline of June for completion, then I
We need to get
think,
stuff up.
yeah, you really need to start getting, now I know there was an article in the Independent,
Don't make Barbara
but
chuckle.
I think every week there's gotta be something.
Okay.
And now granted, how many, I don't know what the readership number is, but it's gotta be social media.
Well, and I
it's
think
gotta
that
be-
was sort of the reason that we put the one pagers together, that we can use them to put it out on, or we can get Kristen to do her thing with Facebook. We need to put them on the website, now that we've, I think, agreed what they ought to look like. Pam, can you get those on the website?
Sure.
And then put stuff out that gets people to start looking at it, because our biggest challenge, and that's the point that I made in the interview with Holly, was that people are uninformed. I mean, the results of the surveys and what we've heard during the, various forums, 2 forums,
So you
is
have
that
to
people
hit-
suggest things that indicate they don't know.
So you have to target all different ways of communication.
Right.
And we really have to do an education on how town government works. I mean, people have no clue. They really, I mean, you read those things and you just sit there and shake their head.
Again, it's getting the people together to do it. If you go back and look at the outreach plan that we had, that Kia put together, and we all started enthusiastically putting together our TED Talks and publishing them, it was going really well. And then we suddenly just, I don't know, who was it that said, no, this is really, we ought to do this in a more holistic way. And basically the enthusiasm died. And I think we just need to go back and say, okay, what did we say we were gonna do? Let's do it. But we need the people to do it. I mean, Kristen is terrific at doing that. We've written the 3 one-pagers. We need to put them in a form that we can get them into the paper and get them on, in town websites, no problem. And then put short stuff in the paper that says, you know, there's key information, give them an appropriate. Is there a QR? We could get a QR code for that, right? Yeah, I mean,
Isn't it figured out?
there might,
I think getting a QR code, I mean, I'm
well,
not
be
techie, but
very careful though. I've gotten a number of them, and I've had to, in order to keep them, I've had to pay a fair amount. Because otherwise they disappear. The free ones disappear, and then you've got a disaster, because you've got to create another one. And you don't know when they disappear. So could you check with Jenny, I guess, and find out if the town has a mechanism to get permanent QR codes? I doubt it, but
Sure.
So I'm taking the action of modifying this housing page and tying off with you about the units.
Yes.
Got it. I just want to make sure.
Speaking of Kristen, BSC put out another request that we try and get photos to them because they haven't received anything. And I know Kristen said she was gonna put something together.
And Brian was collecting photos, right? I sent a bunch to Brian.
I'll send an email. Oh, did you?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Just of like
Okay, so we
Pond
just-
Park and the town hall and
I have
stuff.
to get some to the consultant that represents various things.
oh, and the other thing, speaking of pictures, do we still have the overall steering committee pictures and bios on the website? We don't, do
I think so.
we?
I thought they were.
I think they're tied to our website.
They got taken off and put into Conveo.
and the steering committee has decreased in size.
Yeah, there were people on there, I didn't even know who they were.
Actually, I didn't either.
Well, looking ahead,
Well, we've got a bit,
looking ahead for a meeting, do we have to meet on a Thursday?
It's the best time.
well, if, you know, for Ken, what's
Start
good?
messing with days.
I mean, what day would you like to meet on?
Well, I'm looking at my calendar, and I could meet on Thursday the 1st.
Oh, it's Conveo.
That's only in
But-
2 weeks though.
Well, I know, and I guess I'm suggesting that because if we're trying to get things done and we're bringing these documents back together, to wait a month or so is not gonna get it done.
So what, let's do it in 2 weeks.
Thursday the 1st?
Would be my suggestion, or Wednesday the 7th.
Peter can't come.
I'm busy
You
on,
can't do the
I'm
1st?
busy on the
What
8th.
What are we
I'm
needing? We
busy
should
on
have,
the
Yes, you are.
are we meeting for something though? We don't have,
Well,
I mean, right now BSC is putting together the chapters and they're gonna finalize this,
Yeah, but they're not gonna
Comments.
finalize this, are they? Aren't we gonna do that?
the one-pagers. You wanted me
Well,
to review?
The combination of the one-pagers and the matrix. I
They'll
mean,
do that, you'll take.
don't we need to finalize that with the new stuff that we're putting in?
She
we
was
just
doing it
did
so
it.
long.
Yeah, we
She
just
just did
did
it, she was
Well-
going along.
Yeah, but could we, I would like
Those
another
things,
minute to
But
look
I've gotta
at it.
work with Ed on
The revised.
on
Yeah.
adding a couple of things in.
And I
Don't
would
we need
want
to
you
approve
guys
it?
to
Don't we need
approve
to-
my
don't we need to
housing.
approve the one-pagers and the matrix before it goes to BSC, maybe not, I don't know.
So what dates are you available, Ken? Mary
Well,
can't
I'll tell
come
you
in
what
on
I'm
the
not
first.
available.
I
I'm
mean,
not
that
available on the
doesn't- I mean,
15th, and I prefer not to do it on the 8th.
What about the
I'm
6th?
available on the 1st, I'm available on the 22nd, and I'm available any evenings except Mondays. Mondays are. a
What about
no-go for me.
Tuesday, the 6th?
I'm okay with that. If other people are, but somebody said that Thursday was the best night.
I can make an exception to any rule and arrange for transportation and the stuff, things that I have to do, but I couldn't make it the norm to do a different, I could do Wednesday and Thursday, but if we needed to meet on a
But I
Tuesday in
think-
the interest of
But I
moving
think Pam
forward.
raises an important point, though, is what would we do, you know, is it too soon to meet? Is the purpose of the meeting, of the next meeting, to review something that BSC provides or what we provide to them? Because
Well,
if it's
I
the
think
former,
there's-
then we meet later.
BSC is not in charge of public engagement. We are.
Well, no, I agree.
And I think that's the highest priority, as Mary said.
But
Well,
I don't know.
but isn't the highest priority
Ready for
getting,
that yet?
isn't the highest priority getting the loose ends done of what we've done tonight?
Well, I think we've done it,
Yeah, I think.
Well, Ken's got some
Well,
things he
there are
was
a few.
good,
You have a one-pager to write, I have a one-pager to write,
and he
I
needs
have
to
a goal
talk.
to add.
I have a
some actions
modified
to
one
add.
pager.
She's gonna modify one.
Yeah, those are
we've
little
all-
things though.
I'm
So you
sorry.
wanna meet in 2 weeks and,
I don't know, I don't know.
You want one pagers for all of these?
No, just the
Well,
ones that are.
apparently, that was my initial question. But it sounds as if it's the controversial ones. They-
Well-
What about if we meet on the 1st and see where we are?
Okay, and on the first, we would have final agreement on the 3 one-pages we went through tonight.
Right,
If you can send those out.
mhm.
And then have reviewed, let DSC know what we've done, give them a copy, tell them we're gonna review it. We'll get back to them with a final version.
Of the implementation.
Of the implementation matrix, right? And then, I don't think we wanna wait for all the one-pagers before we establish what our public engagement program
right,
is.
right, so we can do that that night.
So,
We gonna do it in person or gonna Zoom?
what, geez, I'd like to do it in person.
I prefer in person, because I think we get a lot done.
Yeah, we have 3-hour meetings instead of 1 hour.
Well,
I know, it's,
But we do, we get a lot done.
We needed, I know, we needed this.
okay, so for the next meeting, we have the final one-pagers plus 2 additional one-pages that we've talked about, right? We will have by then reviewed everything we did tonight and we're in complete agreement. And then we establish in that meeting exactly what's gonna happen in terms of public engagement, right?
Okay,
Sounds
well,
good.
why don't you see if she can come?
And a schedule. We need a
See- see if-
schedule for
See
what.
if Kristen can join us. And see if, and now, is the first selectman meeting?
It doesn't matter, they don't meet here.
But
Brian
Brian does.
Oh, that's true, Brian.
No, I'm not taking the
I
vacation.
don't think we're ready to do public outreach yet.
No, we have to,
I'm talking about meeting with Brian. I'm
I
talking about
don't
Brian
think, I
being able to
think
come
they
to
make
our
the
meeting.
2nd and 4th, isn't it, or it's the
I
1st
don't
and 3rd
remember.
Thursday?
They're the 2nd and 4th.
The
Okay, so
selectmen,
then he
the
would
second.
be
Yeah, and we moved
Then he
ours
would
to
be
the
available on
3rd,
the
so
first.
we
Yeah.
wouldn't conflict. yeah.
All right,
All
and
more
this
rea-
is
all
the
more
first,
reason
the
to
first
do that.
Thursday, so,
Okay.
so it won't be a selectmen's meeting.
but I agree, we're not ready. We will not be ready to do public outreach on the first.
Right,
But we must plan.
Yeah,
Right.
schedule it,
And make it happen on the
Yeah.
first.
right,
yeah.
right,
I think we should do it in person.
okay.
And then, are we keeping the 15th as well?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, I'm not available then, but
And that's not a selectmen's meeting? Okay, so we're all set.
Let me make sure there's no special.
I'll try for a different night on the 15th, but I'm doubting that I can get that changed.
having fun yet? Are we having fun yet? I was gonna ask you about
Yeah, they're meeting on the 3rd and 5th for some reason.
the 3rd and the 5th. Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's,
3rd and 5th Thursday, so they're meeting the 15th and 29th.
oh, so then he can't come on the 15th.
He did not.
So we could meet the 22nd instead. We could. Then I could come too.
Yeah, we can meet the
Let's
22nd.
do the 22nd.
That's school, I'm not available that night.
I'm
It's
not
school
either.
vacation.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it's school vacation week. Right.
Well, you know, Brian missed this one, he's gonna
Oh,
move
but
the
I'm
miss
not,
it.
well, I wouldn't be available for an in-person meeting.
We should do
I
the,
have to be in Portsmouth.
we should do the 15th. Brian can't make it, Brian can't make it.
And he'll be here the first, though, right?
But Ken can't
Yeah.
be there.
Yeah,
Okay, we can discuss that more on the first anyway.
yeah. Department heads.
Well, I think that needs to start, you know, varsity meeting.
Yeah, so how are we
We
gonna
have a
do
good
it?
enough
Why don't we do
document.
that right after the first?
Well, who's gonna do it and how are we gonna do it? I mean, our department heads,
Well,
especially.
you've met with everyone already.
Well, you know,
So I don't know that I think it's better just to keep it with the consultant and the staff and not have the committee meet with the staff.
So what are you saying, that we don't do the department heads?
No, we'll do them, but do it amongst the staff and the consultants.
Okay,
And then we'll report back.
okay.
Because we're just gonna take a day and reserve a room and interview, give everyone an hour time slot is the thought, and go over each department's relevant information with them.
Okay.
Just bang it out.
Okay. Now, what relevant information you're gonna go over?
Well, like the make sure that we have all the required reports, the existing conditions plans are correct, and then the implementation stuff, see if they have any additional input.
Okay.
They ought to get the existing condition stuff right away.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay,
Just so you know, Jeff wants, when the old fire station comes down, he says he needs a, I don't know if I remember the requirements, a building to store his equipment in.
Jeff
Yes,
or Randy?
Fire chief.
no, Jeff, the fire chief,
Really?
he has all his equipment sitting outside,
Huh.
and he needs a place to put it. So he wants I don't forget, I can't remember the measurements.
This is seldom used equipment.
No, it's used all the time, he's got a lot of equipment.
Like vehicle stuff, or?
It's not, there was one vehicle, I saw the stuff sitting outside. He's got a lot of stuff. Between the paramedics and the EMTs and the fire people.
Does it need to be climate controlled?
I don't think so, he said he just wants a building to
Like
put him in.
Or a
with a roof.
container, could he start with a container just to have it out of the
No, it's
elements?
way too big, too much for that.
Oh, okay.
Not way too much for a
Oh,
container,
really?
he needs a building. He needs a,
Well, you better put that on the docket for funding.
Capital fund, or
Town
capital
meeting, he's
project.
not gonna get anywhere at all.
well, I mean, all I'm saying is that's what he's looking at, because he's gotta have, he doesn't have a place to put half of his equipment. You know, I mean, there are other things, like, you know, in that police department, there are things that need to be replaced, like, something's gonna cost $100,000, I have to go back to my notes, but,
His generator.
generator. And it was a generator and something else that needs,
As an experienced operating engineer, I will take exception to that, but that's okay.
there was something else.
$100,000?
Big bucks, whatever this is. No, this is something he and Randy have talked about.
This wasn't the AC stuff on the roof, was it? It was something else.
Yeah.
That would be, that would be the-
But there's some huge expenses that normally have at the police and fire department. So, but he does have stuff that's sitting outside, he needs a place to put it, and it won't, certainly doesn't have the room where they store
But
the,
at least that would be convenient
yeah.
to him.
Where else would he put it though?
Well, no, I'm saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, my concern was that I misunderstood you, and I thought it was Randy, and I thought, my God,
No, it's not Randy. Randy needs a whole new,
Yeah.
yeah,
The
Randy,
building's
This whole
tough.
yeah, he needs a whole new business, whole new building.
Differently.
Oh.
So I saw
He
the
has the
format.
same
I was
problem,
like,
and he
oh.
has half of his equipment outside, you know. And no place to put it. No, this is Jeff, he's got a lot of stuff, that if you drive by the old fire department, old firehouse, there was a whole bunch of stuff sitting outside the day it was there.
Okay, well, we have a beautiful summer.
Add it to the list.
Okay.
I happen to know we got a good one.
Would you like a motion? I think we should have a motion to adjourn, he just wants to walk off. I move we adjourn.
I second that.
You're wonderful.
All in favor?
Aye.